Welcome, dear friends, to a gentle journey through the ancient, mysterious lands of Skyrim, a place where snowflakes fall like whispers from the heavens, and where the winds of time carry stories of dragons, gods, and heroes. Tonight, we will drift through the rich lore of this enchanted world, where the stone walls of ancient castles echo with the past, where the echoes of the Dragonborn's footsteps can still be heard on the cold, crisp mountain air. From the rise of the Nords to the fabled return of dragons, the winding paths of Skyrim are filled with legends that have shaped the hearts of all who walk its frozen land. Together, we will explore tales of warriors, mages, thieves, and kings, as well as the forgotten mysteries that linger like shadows in the corners of this timeless realm. As you settle into a place of calm, let your body soften, letting go of the weight of your day. Allow your breathing to slow, each inhale drawing in the quiet of the night, each exhale releasing the tension in your limbs. Feel your heart gently ease into the rhythm of the evening. There is no rush, no need for anything more than this stillness. Let yourself drift like a leaf upon a stream, carried by the current of these stories. And if you find joy in the gentle unfolding of tales like these, you're welcome to subscribe and softly share where you're listening from tonight, in case we meet again in this peaceful space. Now, as the night embraces you, let us begin our journey into the heart of Skyrim, its people, its legends, and its magic. The land is waiting to whisper its secrets to you. Skyrim, a land of snow-capped peaks and ancient windswept valleys, has always been a place of mystery and power. The very ground beneath its frozen surface hums with the echoes of a past as old as the stars themselves, filled with stories of great battles, lost civilizations, and forgotten gods. As you breathe in the stillness of the night, imagine the ancient lands stretching far beyond the horizon, vast, untamed, and full of a quiet strength that has withstood the tests of time. Long before the first Nords set foot upon Skyrim's soil, the land was already rich with ancient energies. It is said that the very earth was shaped by the gods themselves, their power woven into every stone and mountain that rises majestically above the frost-covered plains. These mountains, towering high into the sky, seem to watch over the land like silent sentinels, their icy peaks forever kissed by the cold breath of the heavens. The air is thin and sharp at their summits, where the winds carry the faintest traces of lost memories, swirling among the clouds. Skyrim's history is intricately tied to the rise and fall of many great civilizations, each one leaving behind its own mark, its own legacy. The earliest inhabitants of Skyrim were not the Nords, but the mysterious and enigmatic race known as the Snow Elves. Little is known about them, for their story is buried beneath the frost and shadow of time. The Snow Elves, though they once thrived in the northern reaches of the land, vanished long ago, their existence fading into myth. Their ancient cities now lie in ruins, overtaken by the relentless forces of nature, their beauty now hidden beneath layers of snow and ice. But it was the Nords, the proud and fierce people of Skyrim, who would come to shape the land's future. The first Nords, led by the legendary hero Ysgramor, arrived from Atmora, an ancient, distant land that now lies frozen beneath the sea. With their arrival, Skyrim began to take on the character it holds today. The Nords brought with them a fierce determination to carve their place in the world, to tame the wilds and to establish their homes, among the towering peaks and vast forests. As you imagine their first steps upon this land, you might feel the weight of their determination in the air, a steady, unwavering energy that still lingers in the forests and hills. The Nords were no strangers to the harshness of their new home. They quickly adapted to the bitter cold, learning to survive in the most unforgiving of environments. They became masters of the ice and snow, shaping their lives around the cycles of the seasons and the rhythm of nature itself. Their homes were built of stone and wood, strong and solid, meant to withstand the harsh winds that howled across the land. The gods of the Nords, the divines, watched over them as they established their kingdom. These gods, magnificent, powerful, and filled with an ageless wisdom, breathed life into the world, shaping its fate with every passing moment. The most powerful of these gods was Shor, the god of the underworld, whose presence still echoes in the halls of Sovngarde, the Nordic afterlife. Shor's influence can be felt in the very heart of Skyrim, where warriors still honor his memory, calling upon his name in times of battle. As time passed, the Nords grew stronger, their kingdoms expanding across the land. The city of Whiterun, nestled in the heart of Skyrim, became a focal point of their strength and unity. There, in the warm glow of the hearths and the steady rhythm of daily life, the Nords learned the art of war, of magic, and of building communities that could withstand the passage of time. But it was not just war that defined the Nords. Their culture was rich in song and legend, in the telling of tales that spoke of the past and offered guidance for the future. Their voices rose in harmony, their music carried by the wind as a reminder that they were part of something larger than themselves, a great and eternal story stretching across the ages. Skyrim's land itself seems to carry the weight of its history, as though the very soil has absorbed the triumphs and tragedies of countless generations. When the sun sets behind the distant peaks, casting the land in a soft, golden light, one can almost hear the whispers of the past, floating gently through the trees and across the rivers. The Nords' history is not just written in the books and scrolls of scholars, but in the very stones that form the foundations of their cities, in the songs of the bards that echo through the ages, and in the quiet moments of reflection beneath the starry skies. But the land of Skyrim is not just a place of legends and myths. It is a land that continues to shape the present, drawing new adventurers, new heroes, and new legends into its embrace. The ancient stories, though they seem distant, are never truly forgotten. They live on in the hearts of the people, in the quiet moments of contemplation, and in the whispers of the wind. As the night deepens and the stars shine above, take a moment to imagine the endless possibilities that await. The land of Skyrim, with its history, its mystery, and its magic, is always ready to tell a new story, one that is waiting just beyond the horizon. In the early days of Skyrim, before the Nords established themselves as masters of the land, there was a time of quiet struggle. It was a time when the world was still young, and the gods themselves walked among mortals, guiding and testing them. The Nords, though fierce and proud, were not born of Skyrim's soil, but had traveled far from the icy shores of Etmora. Their arrival in this wild land marked the beginning of an era, an age where survival and strength became intertwined with the very essence of being. As the Nords ventured into the heart of Skyrim, they faced a landscape as harsh and unforgiving as the gods they worshipped. Vast, untamed forests stretched out before them, and the mountains loomed high, their peaks dusted with eternal snow. The rivers, cold and swift, cut through the land like veins of ice. It was a world where every step felt uncertain, where every breath seemed to come with the challenge of enduring the elements. But the Nords were not afraid. There was a fire in their hearts, a deep, unshakable belief that they were destined for greatness. Guided by their ancestors' spirits and fueled by the will of the gods, they sought to carve a life in this harsh land, to build something that would stand the test of time. They were determined to thrive in the frozen wastes, to bend the land to their will, as the ancient stories of Isgramor had foretold. Isgramor, the great hero, is a name that still echoes through the halls of Skyrim, a name that carries with it the weight of legend. He was the first of the Nords to lead them into Skyrim's wilds, his ship cutting through the ice-filled waters of the northern seas. His journey was not one of ease, for the land fought back with its frigid winds and frozen shores. But Isgramor was undeterred, for he believed that the Nords were born for this very purpose, to claim the land as their own, to stand as masters in a world where survival was the greatest battle. Usgramor's story is more than just one of conquest. It is a tale of the spirit of the Nords themselves, resilient, unyielding, and fiercely independent. It was he who first led his people to settle in Skyrim, making their mark on the land where the mountains met the sky, where the rivers carved deep valleys, and where the northern lights painted the heavens in shades of green and blue. Ysgramor and his followers built the first cities, raised the first strongholds, and forged the first bonds that would tie the Nords to their land forever. But the Nords did not build their world alone. They were aided by the gods who watched over them, their divine power infusing every stone, every tree, and every mountain. The god Shor, the god of the underworld, was their protector, guiding them with his strength and wisdom. It is said that Shor himself whispered the secrets of survival to Ysgramor, teaching him how to navigate the harsh winters and how to honor the spirits of the earth. With each passing year, the Nords grew stronger, their communities flourishing as they embraced the ways of their ancestors and honored the traditions passed down through the ages. The land of Skyrim itself began to respond to the Nords' presence. The mountains, once cold and aloof, now seemed to welcome the footsteps of those who had come to claim them. The forests, which had once been wild and untamed, began to feel the touch of civilization. The Nords learned to live in harmony with the land, respecting its beauty and power while carving out their own place within it. Each settlement, each stronghold, became a testament to their resilience, a reminder that though they had arrived as strangers, they had made this land their own. And yet, the Nords' journey was not without its challenges. They faced many dangers in these early years. The land itself tested them, throwing storms and harsh winters in their path. Wild beasts, fierce and untamable, prowled the forests and mountains, forcing the Nords to become hunters and warriors, their lives shaped by the rhythm of the hunt and the fight for survival. Yet these challenges did not break the Nords' spirit. They embraced each trial, for they understood that it was through struggle that strength was forged, and it was in the coldest nights that their fire burned the brightest. As the Nords' presence grew, so too did their culture. The traditions of Ysgramor, the first hero, became the foundation upon which all Nords would stand. The art of storytelling flourished, passed from generation to generation through the soft flicker of firelight and the rhythm of song. The Nords sang of their ancestors' victories, of their journeys across the seas, and of the mighty battles fought under the watchful eyes of the gods. These tales became the heartbeat of the Nords' culture, weaving the past into the present, keeping the spirit of Isgramor alive in every word spoken and every song sung. The Nords also found themselves bound by a deeper connection to the land, one that transcended the physical. They came to understand that Skyrim was not just a place they inhabited, it was a living, breathing entity, alive with ancient magic. They learned to listen to the wind that whispered through the trees, to feel the earth beneath their feet, and to hear the songs of the gods that resonated in the very stones of their cities. This connection to the land gave them a deep sense of purpose, a sense that they were part of something greater than themselves, something eternal. And so, with each passing year, the Nords' world grew richer, their bond to Skyrim deeper. They learned not only to survive, but to thrive. They built great cities, established powerful kingdoms, and forged an identity that would echo through the ages. They were no longer just strangers in a cold land. They had become the heart of Skyrim itself. As you imagine this early time, with the first Nords settling upon the land, you can feel the weight of their journey. Their story is one of struggle and triumph, of enduring the harshest of winters and facing the most daunting of challenges. But it is also a story of connection, the connection between the people and the land, between the Nords and their gods, and between the past and the present. It is a story that continues to unfold, carried on the wind and whispered in the stillness of the night. As the years passed and the Nords grew more settled in Skyrim, their ambitions began to expand, as did their understanding of the land they now called home. The humble beginnings of Isgramor's journey, guided by the winds and the cold breath of the north, soon gave way to the rise of a powerful and united kingdom. The Nords were no longer mere survivors. They were conquerors in their own right, driven by the desire to build something lasting, something that would stand the test of time. The first great empire of the Nords was born from their strength, their unity, and their unyielding will. The heart of this early empire lay in the mighty city of Windhelm, which rose like a fortress from the icy shores of the White River. Windhelm was not just a city of stone and wood, it was a symbol of the Nords' growing power. The grand architecture of its walls and towers reflected the strength of its people, and its bustling streets, filled with traders, warriors, and scholars, gave it an energy unlike anything Skyrim had seen before. Here, in the midst of this growing empire, the Nords carved their place in history, building a legacy that would echo through the ages. At the helm of this empire stood the rulers, the mighty leaders who embodied the spirit of the Nords. They were not just kings, but warriors, heroes who led their people not from the comfort of palaces, but from the front lines of battle. The first kings of Skyrim were fierce and just, guided by the wisdom of the gods and the ancient traditions of their ancestors. It is said that these kings were blessed by Shor, the god of the underworld, who granted them strength and vision beyond mortal limits. Under their rule, the Nords built alliances with neighboring, tribes and defeated those who sought to take their land. It was a time of unity when the Nords stood together as one people, bound by honor, pride, and their unshakable connection to the land. But as with all great empires, the rise of the Nords came with its own challenges. Their power was tested by the forces of nature, as well as by those who sought to challenge their dominance. The ancient elves, who had once walked the land in the days of the snow elves, now found themselves in conflict with the Nords, their own kingdoms standing in the shadow of Skyrim's growing might. The Nords' expansion was met with resistance, and the fierce battles that followed shaped the very landscape of Skyrim. The blood of both Nord and Elf soaked the earth, and the winds carried the cries of warriors who had fallen in the name of their people. The clash between the Nords and the Elves was not merely one of territory, it was a clash of cultures, a clash of worlds. The Elves, with their ancient wisdom and their deep connection to magic, were not easily defeated. They had lived in Skyrim for centuries, long before the first Nords set foot upon its shores, and they saw the arrival of these new invaders as a threat to their way of life. The Nords, on the other hand, saw themselves as the rightful heirs to the land, the ones chosen by the gods to rule over Skyrim's frozen wastes. The tension between these two peoples grew, and with it, the fires of war burned ever brighter. Yet even as they fought, the Nords did not lose sight of the values that had guided them from the very beginning. They were warriors, yes, but they were also builders, creators of things that would endure. They crafted weapons and armor of incredible beauty and strength, tools of war that were as much works of art as they were instruments of destruction. Their cities grew more magnificent with each passing year, and their culture flourished, enriched by the knowledge and wisdom passed down through the generations. The gods, too, played their part in shaping the fate of the Nords. Shor, the god of the underworld, watched over his people, ensuring that they remained strong in the face of adversity. The other gods of the Nords, including the mighty warrior goddess Kine, the queen of the storms, and the wise and peaceful Julianos, blessed the people of Skyrim with their favor. It is said that the gods themselves walked among the Nords, guiding them with their power and offering protection in times of need. With their divine presence, the Nords felt invincible, as though nothing could stand against them. As the first empire of the Nords continued to grow, the land itself seemed to reflect their strength. The once wild forests began to feel tamed, their ancient trees now serving as homes for the people. The rivers, which had once been harsh and untamable, now provided nourishment and trade. The snow-capped mountains, which had once been cold and distant, now stood as proud guardians of the Nord's kingdom. Even the wild animals of Skyrim, once seen as threats, became a part of the Nord's way of life, sources of food, fur, and even companionship. The Nords had found their place within the land, and the land had, in turn, accepted them. But despite their growing power, the Nords never forgot the lessons of their past. They knew that their strength did not come from the land alone, but from their unity, their courage, and their unwavering determination. The first empire of the Nords was built not just with stone and steel, but with the hearts and souls of its people. It was a kingdom born of hardship, of struggle, and of triumph. And though its legacy would be tested by the trials of time, its foundation would never waver. The Nord's empire was one of legend, but it was also a place of peace, a place where the people lived in harmony with one another and with the land. The fires that burned in their hearths were warm and steady, their songs filled the air, and their warriors stood watch, ever vigilant in the face of what lay beyond the horizon. The first empire of the Nords was a testament to the enduring spirit of the people who had come to call Skyrim home. And as the sun set behind the mountains, casting the land in a soft, golden glow, the Nords could rest, knowing that their legacy would endure, carried on the wind and whispered in the hearts of future generations. In the ancient, snow covered valleys of Skyrim, where the wind howls like a restless spirit and the mountains stretch endlessly into the heavens, there lies a tale that has echoed through the centuries, the tale of the Dragonborn. The Dragonborn is more than just a legend in Skyrim. It is a living myth, a figure woven into the very fabric of the land. The story of the Dragonborn has inspired generations, filled the hearts of warriors with courage, and stirred the souls of those who walk the earth with the quiet understanding that power, both great and terrible, lies within them. The Dragonborn is said to be a person with the soul of a dragon, a rare gift from the gods themselves. This person possesses the ability to wield the Thuum, the voice, an ancient, primal power that allows them to speak the language of the dragons and command the very forces of nature. It is a power that flows through the Dragonborn's veins, a gift that binds them to Skyrim in a way that no other could ever understand. It is both a blessing and a burden, a strength that can save or destroy, depending on how it is wielded. The first whispers of the Dragonborn came from the ancient tales of Isgramor, the great hero and leader of the Nords. His story was one of great triumph and heroism, but even he could not escape the shadow of the dragons that had once roamed the skies. Dragons, those majestic and terrifying creatures, had ruled over the land long before the Nords arrived. They were beings of immense power, their presence felt in every gust of wind and every tremor in the earth. It was said that the dragons spoke the ancient language of the world, a language of pure power that could shape reality itself. The gods, in their wisdom, decided that the world needed a balance, and so they created the Dragonborn, a chosen one, born with the strength to challenge the dragons, to speak their language, and to wield their power. The Dragonborn would be the one to unite the people of Skyrim, to bring the dragons to heel, and to guide the Nords to victory in their most difficult hour. But as with all gifts, the power of the Dragonborn was not without its cost. To wield such strength was to carry the weight of 1,000 years of history, to walk in the footsteps of gods and legends, and to confront a destiny that could not be escaped. Many in Skyrim believed the tale of the Dragonborn to be a myth, a story passed down through the generations, whispered by the firelight in the long, dark winters. But as the years passed, strange occurrences began to unfold across the land. Dragons, long thought to be extinct, began to appear once more, soaring high above the mountains, their roars shaking the earth. Their return sent a ripple of fear through the hearts of the people, for the dragons were not just creatures of legend, they were living, breathing forces of destruction, capable of leveling entire cities with a single roar. And then, as if the gods themselves had answered the call, a hero emerged, a figure whose name would become known across Skyrim, whose footsteps would echo in the halls of Sovngarde, the Dragonborn. No one knew where they came from or how they had gained their power, but their presence was undeniable. They were a force to be reckoned with, a person who could stand before the mighty dragons and speak their language, bending them to their will with the power of the Thu'um. The Dragonborn's journey began with a single, fateful encounter with a dragon, whose fiery breath set the skies ablaze. It was a battle that would change the course of history, for the Dragonborn did not flinch in the face of the dragon's power. Instead, they stood tall, calling upon the Thu'um, their voice a powerful force that shattered the air itself. With a shout, the Dragonborn brought the dragon to the ground, and in that moment, Skyrim knew that the legends were true, that the Dragonborn had come, and they were destined to change the fate of the world. As the Dragonborn's journey unfolded, they encountered many challenges and trials. They traveled through ancient ruins, across frozen plains, and into the heart of Skyrim's darkest mysteries. Along the way, they gained the trust of the people, their name whispered with reverence in every corner of the land. They were not just a hero, but a symbol of hope, of strength, and of the unbreakable spirit of Skyrim. The power of the Dragonborn grew with each battle, each victory, and each shout they learned to master. It was a power that connected them to the very essence of Skyrim, to the ancient forces that shaped the world. But even as the Dragonborn rose to greatness, they were not immune to the darkness that lurked in the shadows. The return of the dragons was not just a sign of strength, it was also a harbinger of a deeper, more ancient threat. As the Dragonborn delved deeper into the mysteries of the Thu'um, they discovered that the dragons were not just creatures of destruction. They were part of a much larger and more dangerous force. Their return was tied to the ancient evil that had once threatened to destroy the world, a force that could only be stopped by the Dragonborn. The path of the Dragonborn was not one of glory alone, but one of sacrifice. Every victory came at a cost. Every battle left its mark. The weight of the power they wielded was not easily carried, for the Thu'um could shatter more than just stone. It could shatter the very soul. And yet, the Dragonborn pressed on, driven by a purpose greater than themselves, knowing that their destiny was tied to the fate of Skyrim itself. The legend of the Dragonborn, though it began as a myth, became a reality, a story that would be told for generations to come. And as the sun sets over the snowy peaks of Skyrim, casting long shadows across the land, the Dragonborn's name echoes in the hearts of those who still believe in the power of the gods and the strength of their own hearts. They were a living legend, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope, that even the most impossible of challenges can be overcome by those who stand firm in the face of destiny. In the deepest corners of Skyrim's vast history, long before the time of the Dragonborn, there lies a figure whose name resonates like a whisper across the ages, Ysgramor. To the Nords, Ysgramor is more than just a hero. He is a symbol of strength, courage, and unwavering determination. His tale is one that has been passed down through generations, sung by bards beside the hearths and carried on the wind through the mighty forests and towering mountains. The story of Ysgramor is not just a tale of conquest and glory, but of the heart and soul of the Nords, of their roots and their bonds to the land they call home. Ysgramor's legend begins not in Skyrim, but in the distant lands of Itmora, a frozen realm far to the north. It was from this cold, desolate place that Ysgramor and his people made their journey southward to the shores of Skyrim. The land they left behind was harsh, unforgiving, and distant, but it was all they had ever known. Atmora was a land of ice and snow, a place where survival was a constant struggle against the elements. The gods who watched over the Nords, especially Shor, the god of the underworld, were believed to have granted the Nords the strength and resilience to survive in such a harsh environment. But despite their strength, the Nords were not content. The Nords of Atmora lived in isolation, cut off from the rest of the world. Their homeland was a place of quiet beauty, yet it was lonely and barren. Osgrimor, a leader born of this harsh land, felt the stirring of a greater calling deep within his soul. The gods had whispered in his ear, guiding his heart and urging him to venture beyond the frozen shores of Atmora. He had heard tales of a new land, a land full of promise, where the winds whispered of fortune and the mountains seemed to call his name. That land was Skyrim. Ysgramor's decision to lead his people south to Skyrim was not an easy one. It was a journey fraught with danger, a journey into the unknown. The seas between Atmora and Skyrim were treacherous, filled with storms and ice, and many feared the perils of such an expedition. Yet Ysgramor's vision was unshaken. With a heart full of courage, he gathered his people and set sail, leaving the cold and desolate shores of Atmora behind. The journey was long, and the sea seemed endless, but the Nords sailed on, driven by the dream of a new home, a new beginning. When they finally arrived in Skyrim, the Nords were met with a land as wild and untamed as the gods themselves. The towering mountains rose before them like the walls of a great fortress, and the rivers flowed with a power that could not be tamed. Skyrim was a land of beauty, but also of peril. The wilderness was filled with dangers, the wild creatures that prowled the forests, the harsh winters that could freeze the soul, and the unpredictable weather that could change in an instant. But Ysgramor and his people were undeterred. They had come for a reason, and they would not be swayed. Ysgramor's leadership was born not just of strength, but of wisdom and compassion. He understood the land, its rhythms, and its dangers, and he knew how to guide his people through the most challenging of times. Under his leadership, the Nords began to settle in Skyrim, carving out homes in the wilderness, building strongholds, and forging a life for themselves. The early days were not without hardship, but Ysgramor's people were a resilient and determined folk. They learned to hunt the game of the land, to build shelter against the biting cold, and to live in harmony with the rhythms of the world around them. Ysgramor's wisdom extended beyond survival. He believed in the power of unity, in the strength of the bonds between people, and in the importance of honoring the gods who had guided them. He established the tradition of the Companions, a brotherhood of warriors who fought for the good of Skyrim, whose strength and courage would be passed down through the generations. The Companions became a symbol of the Nords' commitment to each other and to the land they had come to call home. But Ysgramor's story is not just one of peace and prosperity. As the Nords began to establish themselves in Skyrim, they faced countless threats. The most dangerous of these came from the dragons, the mighty, terrifying creatures that had once ruled over the land. The dragons were more than just beasts. They were ancient, powerful beings with a deep connection to the world's magic. They had ruled Skyrim in ages long past, and their return was heralded by the winds and the shaking of the earth. Isgramor, however, was not afraid. He understood the power of the dragons, but he also understood that the Nords were not without power of their own. With his unmatched courage and strength, Isgramor led his people against the dragons, facing them in battle with a will as unbreakable as the mountains themselves. The dragons, mighty though they were no match for the courage of the Nords, and one by one they were brought to heel. It was during these battles with the dragons that Isgramor's true legend was forged. His name became synonymous with bravery, honor, and the will to protect the land and its people. The tales of his feats spread far and wide, and it is said that the gods themselves took note of his strength. Shor, the god of the underworld, is said to have smiled upon Isgramor, seeing in him the embodiment of the Nord spirit. Even as Isgramor faced the dragons, he never lost sight of the greater purpose for which he had come to Skyrim, to build a kingdom that would endure. Under his leadership, the Nords began to thrive. The cities and settlements grew, the people became stronger, and the bonds between them deepened. Isgramor's legacy lived on, not just in the battles he fought, but in the lives he shaped, the wisdom he passed down, and the unity he fostered among his people. Isgramor's time in Skyrim may have passed, but his influence remains. The Nords still honor his memory, his spirit woven into every stone, every song, every warrior's cry. The traditions he established continue to guide the people of Skyrim, reminding them of their roots and the strength they draw from their connection to the land and the gods. His name is spoken with reverence, his deeds celebrated in song, and his legacy carried forward in the hearts of those who still walk the land he helped to shape. As the snow falls gently across the land of Skyrim, and the wind whispers through the trees, the memory of Isgramor endures, an eternal flame that will never fade, a legend that will never be forgotten. The passage of time, though slow and gentle, can be a force of nature as powerful as the fiercest storm. In Skyrim, where the winds howled like wolves and the mountains stood as silent guardians over the land, even the strongest of empires could be humbled by time's unrelenting march. The first empire of the Nords, once united in strength and purpose, began to falter as the years passed, its once thriving cities beginning to fade beneath the weight of their own ambition. The echoes of Isgramor's triumphs grew quieter, and the flame of unity that had burned so brightly began to flicker in the cold winds of change. The first empire had been built on the foundation of heroism, courage, and the unwavering will of its people. Under the leadership of Isgramor, the Nords had conquered Skyrim, forging their homes in the wild and untamed lands, their cities rising from the earth like living monuments to their strength. But as time passed, the cracks began to show. The lands that had once been united under a single banner now saw the first stirrings of division as the empire's power waned and rivalries began to take root. The once proud unity of the Nords began to unravel, pulled apart by the weight of ambition, pride, and the natural tensions that arise when great power is at stake. It was not a single event that led to the fall of the First Empire, but a series of struggles, each one more subtle than the last, each one chipping away at the foundation that had once seemed so unbreakable. The loss of Isgramor, the death of the hero who had guided the Nords, to their greatest triumphs, left a void that no one could fill. Though the gods had watched over him, even they could not prevent the inevitable passing of time. And with his passing came a sense of uncertainty, a quiet fear that began to spread among the people. The winds of change were blowing across Skyrim, and there was no stopping them. The first sign of trouble came from within the Empire itself. The provinces of Skyrim, once unified under the banner of Isgramor, began to turn inward, each one more concerned with its own survival than with the welfare of the kingdom as a whole. Whispers of rebellion and discord began to rise from the farthest corners of the land. The once proud Nords, whose bonds had been forged in battle and shared struggle, now found themselves divided by differences of opinion, by ambitions that stretched beyond the borders of their land, and by the deep-seated desire for power and control. The lands of Skyrim, once a place of unity and strength, began to feel the weight of their own complexity. The cities that had been built with such care now seemed to crumble, their walls weakened by internal strife. The people, once so proud of their shared heritage, began to turn against one another, their trust fractured by the rifts that had formed between them. The stronghold of Windhelm, which had once stood as a symbol of the Nord's power, now found itself caught in the grip of political tension as factions within the city fought for control. As the internal divisions grew, so too did the external threats. The dragons, once thought to be vanquished by Isgramor and his people, began to return. Their presence was felt like a shadow across the land, their mighty roars reverberating through the mountains, and their eyes glowing with ancient fire. The Nords, who had once stood tall against the dragons, now found themselves at a crossroads. They had been forged in the fires of battle, but the world had changed, and the challenges they faced were greater than any they had encountered before. The fall of the First Empire was not marked by a single battle or a great war. Instead, it was a slow, steady unraveling, like a rope slowly fraying at the edges. The once great kingdom, which had been built on the strength of its people and the guidance of its gods, began to lose its grip on Skyrim. As the winds of change swept through the land, the people began to question their place in the world. Were they still the mighty Nords, destined to rule over Skyrim? Or were they simply a people lost in time, drifting ever farther from the glory that had once been theirs? In the wake of this uncertainty, new leaders began to rise. They were not the heroes of old, nor were they the mighty warriors who had once fought alongside Isgramor. They were men and women driven by ambition, by the desire to claim power and control over the fractured kingdom. The old ways, the ways of Isgramor, seemed to be fading into the past, replaced by new ideas and new visions for the future of Skyrim. The people, once united in their love for the land and their shared heritage, now found themselves divided, torn between the past and the future, between the old gods and the new. Yet even in the midst of this turmoil, there was hope. For in the shadows of the First Empire's fall, a new dawn was quietly taking shape. The land of Skyrim was not without its strength, nor were its people without their spirit. The fall of the First Empire was not the end of Skyrim's story. It was merely the beginning of a new chapter. As the old order crumbled, so new heroes would rise, guided by the same spirit that had carried Isgramor and his people to greatness. The legacy of the First Empire would not be forgotten, but it would evolve, woven into the fabric of the new world that was taking shape. In the quiet moments before dawn, as the cold winds whispered across the land, the people of Skyrim could feel the stirrings of change. The land was not defeated, and neither were they. The Nords may have lost their first empire, but they had not lost their pride. The fires of hope still burned brightly in their hearts, and though the road ahead was uncertain, they knew that they would face whatever challenges lay ahead with the same courage, strength, and resilience that had defined them from the very beginning. The fall of the First Empire was not an end, it was a turning point, a moment of transition between the past and the future. And as the sun began to rise over the snowy peaks of Skyrim, casting long shadows across the land, the Nords stood ready to face whatever came next. For they knew that no matter what the future held, the spirits of Skyrim, the spirit of the Nords, would endure. As the first empire of the Nords faded into history, the winds of Skyrim carried with them whispers of an ancient power long believed to be gone: dragons. The mighty creatures, once rulers of the skies, had vanished from the land for countless generations. Their roars no longer echoed across the mountains, and their fierce wings no longer darkened the sun. In the silence of the years that followed the fall of the First Empire, many believed that the dragons were nothing more than myth, stories told around the fire, remnants of a time long past. But as with all things in Skyrim, the truth has a way of returning when it is least expected. It began with a tremor in the earth, a deep rumble that shook the foundations of the world itself. The sky grew darker, and the winds began to stir in a way that felt different, more ancient. It was as if the land itself was waking from a long slumber, and with it, the creatures that had once ruled it. The first dragon to return was an omen, a creature of fire and shadow, whose roar shattered the silence of the mountains and sent a ripple of fear through the hearts of the people. The dragon's wings beat against the air, sending gusts of wind that could bring down entire trees, and its breath was like a storm of flame that could turn forests to ash. At first, the people of Skyrim were unsure of what to make of this return. Some believed it to be a sign from the gods, a challenge from the ancient powers that had once ruled over the land. Others saw it as a warning, a herald of doom that would bring destruction upon the kingdom. The return of the dragons was not just a threat of physical destruction, it was a reminder of the fragility of the world, a reminder that the forces of nature and magic could never truly be tamed. The dragons were not mere creatures of flesh and bone, they were beings of pure power, tied to the very essence of Skyrim itself. But it was not just the dragons that were returning. With their return came the awakening of an ancient power that had been hidden within Skyrim's people for centuries. This power was called the Thuum, the Voice, a gift of the gods that allowed its wielder to speak the ancient language of dragons. The Thuum was not just a weapon, it was a force of nature, capable of shattering stone and bending the very world to the will of those who could harness it. The power of the voice was said to be the key to defeating the dragons, to standing against their fire and fury and restoring balance to the world. The first to hear the call of the Thuum was a stranger, one whose name would be whispered across the land for centuries to come, the Dragonborn. The Dragonborn was a figure of legend, a chosen one, born with the soul of a dragon and the power to wield the Thuum. It is said that the Dragonborn's journey began in the shadows of Skyrim's mountains, where the winds carried the whispers of the dragons, and the power of the voice began to stir within them. The Dragonborn's path was not one of ease, for the return of the dragons was not a simple matter of defeating beasts. The dragons were not mere monsters to be slain, they were ancient beings, tied to the very fabric of the world, and their return would test the strength and will of the Dragonborn like nothing before. The Dragonborn's power came not from the strength of their body, but from the strength of their spirit. The Thu'um, though mighty, was not easily controlled. It was a gift and a curse, a force that could tear the world apart if misused. The Dragonborn's journey was one of discovery, learning not only how to wield the power of the voice, but how to understand it, to tame it, and to use it in harmony with the land and its ancient forces. With each shout, the Dragonborn grew stronger, mastering the power of the Thu'um and drawing closer to their destiny. The return of the dragons was not without its trials. The mighty creatures were not passive. They came with a purpose, a reason for their return. The dragons had long been absent, but now they sought something that could only be found in the heart of Skyrim, the power of the voice itself. For the dragons were not merely beasts of fire and flame, they were beings of pure magic, tied to the very essence of the world, and their return was part of a greater plan, a plan that stretched back to the beginning of time. The dragons sought to regain their dominion over Skyrim, to reclaim the land that had once been theirs, and to challenge the Dragonborn, the chosen one who had been awakened to stand against them. The land of Skyrim itself seemed to hold its breath as the dragons returned, their wings casting shadows over the snow-covered peaks. The people of Skyrim, once united in their struggle to survive, now found themselves caught in a new war, a war against the ancient forces that had long been forgotten. The return of the dragons brought with it a sense of fear and uncertainty, for no one could know for certain what the dragons wanted or how the people of Skyrim could stand against them. But even as the dragons returned to Skyrim, the Dragonborn stood tall. The power of the voice flowed through them, a gift from the gods that could bring down mountains and shape the world itself. The Dragonborn was not just a warrior, but a beacon of hope, a symbol of the strength and resilience of the Nords. They were not alone in their battle, for the people of Skyrim, though divided, stood with them in spirit. The Dragonborn's journey was a shared one, a journey that would shape the future of Skyrim and determine whether the dragons would reign again or whether the land would remain free. As the Dragonborn's power grew, so too did the power of the dragons. The battle between the two forces was not just one of strength, it was a battle of wills, a clash of ancient powers that would decide the fate of Skyrim. The winds of change blew across the land, and the outcome of this struggle would echo through the ages. The people of Skyrim, once ruled by fear, now found hope in the Dragonborn, whose power was their only defense against the dragon's fury. In the quiet moments, when the snow fell softly upon the ground and the winds whispered through the trees, the people of Skyrim could feel the weight of the world upon their shoulders. They stood at the crossroads of fate, unsure of what the future held, but knowing that, whatever came, they would face it together. The return of the dragons was not just a test of strength, it was a test of spirit, a test of the bond between the people and the land, and a test of the power that lay hidden within the heart of the Dragonborn. Beyond the frosty peaks and sweeping plains of Skyrim, across the vast waters of Tamriel, lies the land of Morrowind, a place of mystery and ancient power, filled with secrets that stretch back to the very dawn of time. In the shadow of the ash-covered mountains, the people of Morrowind have long walked a path defined by their connection to the land, their worship of strange and powerful gods, and the burdens of a past that is at once both proud and tragic. The tale of Morrowind is not one of simple lands or peoples, but of ancient magic, lost heroes, and the rise of a figure whose legend would stretch across time, the Nerevarine. To the Dunmer, the people of Morrowind, the name of Nerevar holds the weight of legend. Lord Nerevar was once the great hero of their people, a leader who had fought in battles alongside the tribunal gods themselves, who had led them through great trials, and who was forever associated with the fate of Morrowind. But Nerevar's death marked the beginning of a conflict, a deep schism in the heart of Morrowind, one that split the gods, the people, and the land itself. The loss of Nerevar created a power vacuum, and with it came the rise of the Tribunal, the three gods who ruled over Morrowind, each embodying an aspect of power, wisdom, and war. The Tribunal were worshipped by the Dunmer as gods, yet their path to godhood was not one of divine purity. Their ascension was the result of dark and mysterious powers, forces that blurred the line between mortality and divinity. Vivek, Sotha Sil, and Almalexia each held dominion over different aspects of Morrowind's fate. But the Tribunal were not the only forces shaping the land. Beneath the surface, the ancient and enigmatic powers of the Daedra stirred, their presence felt in every corner of Morrowind, from the fiery pits of Red Mountain to the windswept shores of Vardenfell. The Daedric princes, with their chaotic and unpredictable nature, often sought to manipulate the affairs of mortals, their power a constant reminder of the dangerous balance that must be maintained. It was in the shadow of this turbulent land that the story of the Nerevarine began to unfold, not in the quiet halls of the tribunal or in the places of power, but in the farthest reaches of Vardenfell, where ancient prophecies whispered on the wind and the souls of the dead still walked. The Nerevarine was not born into greatness, nor were they destined to be a king or a ruler. Instead, the Nerevarine was a figure of prophecy, a chosen one, marked by fate, destined to walk a path that would change the course of Morrowind's history forever. The prophecy of the Nerevarine was not a tale of heroism written in the blood of great battles or the conquest of kingdoms. It was a prophecy tied to the land itself, to the very heart of Morrowind, and to the enduring struggle between the Tribunal and the forces of the Daedra. According to the ancient scrolls, the Nerevarine was to be the reincarnation of Lord Nerevar himself, the hero who would return to heal the wounds of the past, to challenge the power of the Tribunal, and to face the ancient powers that threatened to unravel the very fabric of Morrowind. The Nerevarines' journey was not an easy one. It began in the most humble of circumstances, as the Chosen One arrived in Vardenfell, cast adrift on a journey they could scarcely understand. They were not a king or a general, nor were they blessed with the knowledge of their true heritage. Instead, they were an unknown, a wanderer, a figure who would be tested by the trials of fate and the challenges of a land that was as unforgiving as it was beautiful. From the moment they set foot on the ash-covered shores of Vardenfell, the Nerevarine found themselves caught in the web of prophecy, surrounded by allies and enemies alike, each one with their own stake in the fate of the land. The Nerevarines' journey led them through the dark and labyrinthine streets of Vivek City, the heart of the tribunal's power, where the whispers of gods and mortals mingled in the air. They ventured into the treacherous lands of Molag Bal and Boethia, the Daedric princes whose influence was felt in the most dangerous and unforgiving parts of Morrowind. Along the way, they uncovered secrets long buried, fought against enemies both mortal and divine, and began to piece together the true story of Lord Nerevar's death and the reasons for the tribunal's rise to power. As the Nerevarines' power grew, so too did the weight of their destiny. The tribunal, once the unquestioned rulers of Morrowind, began to see the Nerevarine not just as a figure of prophecy, but as a threat to their own power. They feared that the Nerevarans' arrival would signal the end of their rule, and with it, the fall of the empire they had so carefully built. But the Nerevarine, driven by the knowledge of their true identity, pressed on, challenging the tribunal, uncovering the secrets of their ascension, and ultimately coming face to face with the deep and unsettling truths about the land and the gods they worshipped. Yet even as the Nerevarines' journey took them through treacherous lands and into the heart of Morrowind's darkest mysteries, they were not alone. They were aided by the wise and ancient Khajiit, the cunning and brave Argonians, and the proud and steadfast Nords, each of whom had their own ties to the land and their own reasons for joining the Nerevarines' cause. These allies, though from different lands and different cultures, united under the banner of the Nerevarine, for they too felt the call of prophecy, and they too understood that the fate of Morrowind was a shared one. As the Nerevarines' story unfolded, it became clear that their journey was not just one of personal triumph, but of a deeper, more universal truth. That the struggle between gods and mortals, between fate and free will, would always be a part of Morrowind's heart. The Nerevarine would not just be a hero for the people of Morrowind. They would be a symbol of the eternal struggle between the past and the future, between the gods who seek to control the world and the mortals who would dare to shape their own destiny. And so, with each passing day, the Nerevarine grew closer to their destiny, the weight of prophecy heavy upon their shoulders, yet carried with a quiet resolve. The Nerevarines' tale is one of transformation, of uncovering the secrets of the past, and of learning to wield the power of fate itself. It is a story not just of victory, but of understanding the complex, beautiful, and sometimes tragic nature of the world, of how the past, no matter how far it may seem, is never truly gone, and of how the future is always waiting, just beyond the horizon. In the heart of Skyrim, where the snow falls thick and the wind cuts through the valleys like a sharpened blade, there lies a division that has shaped the very soul of the land, the Civil War. This conflict, though born of political strife, runs deeper, for it touches upon the core of Skyrim's identity. It is a war that pits brother against brother, friend against friend, as two opposing forces clash over the future of the realm. One side, the Stormcloaks, led by the proud and defiant Ulfric Stormcloak, seeks to return Skyrim to its ancient roots, while the other, the Imperial Legion, loyal to the Empire, desires to maintain the old order, preserving the unity of Tamriel at any cost. At the heart of this conflict is Ulfric Stormcloak, a man whose name has become synonymous with rebellion, with freedom, and with the fierce, unyielding will of the Nords. Ulfric is not merely a leader, but a symbol of the Nords' desire to break free from the chains that bind them, be they the foreign influence of the Empire or the lingering shadows of the past. His journey is one marked by both pride and sorrow, for Ulfric's heart is heavy with the loss of his people and the weight of his decisions. He is a man shaped by the brutal landscapes of Skyrim, a warrior who fought not only for the survival of his land, but for the very soul of his people. Ulfric's claim to leadership is rooted in his bloodline. He is a descendant of Ysgramor, the great hero who first brought the Nords to Skyrim, and it is this heritage that gives him both the power and the responsibility to lead the Stormcloaks. To Ulfric, Skyrim is not just a land, it is the heart of the Nords, a symbol of their independence and their connection to the ancient gods. He believes that the Nords, with their proud history and their fierce spirit, deserve to rule their own fate, free from the grasp of the Empire or any outside influence. The Stormcloaks are not merely a militia, they are a movement, a call to arms for all those who believe in the sovereignty of Skyrim, for all those who long to see their land free once more. But Ulfric's leadership has been marked by controversy, for his claim to the throne of High King is not without its critics. To many, his methods are harsh, his resolve unyielding to the point of being seen as stubborn and divisive. Ulfric's refusal to bend to the will of the Empire, his insistence on Skyrim's independence, has earned him both the adoration of his followers and the hatred of his enemies. His path has not been one of unity, but of conflict, conflict with the Empire, conflict with the Thalmor, and most tragically, conflict with his own people. The storm that brewed in Skyrim did not come suddenly. It had been building for years, a quiet tension between the Nords and the Empire that finally erupted into violence. The Empire, once the mighty force that held Tamriel together, had grown weak. Its ties to the Aldmeri Dominion, the elves who sought to impose their own power over the Empire, had left the Nords feeling betrayed. The White Gold Concordat, signed by the Empire with the elves, banned the worship of Talos, the beloved Nord god, and it was this decree that ignited the flames of rebellion. For the Nords, Talos was more than just a god. He was a symbol of their identity, their strength, and their history. To ban his worship was to erase the very essence of what it meant to be a Nord. The Civil War, then, was not just a war for Skyrim's independence. It was a war for the soul of the Nords, a battle between those who believed in the preservation of their ancient ways and those who saw the Empire as a necessary ally, a force to keep the chaos of Tamriel at bay. The Stormcloaks, led by Ulfric, believed that Skyrim's future lay in its freedom from the Empire, in reclaiming their sovereignty and their identity as a people. But the Imperials, led by General Tullius, saw Skyrim's rebellion as a threat to the stability of the Empire itself. They believed that the Nords must remain united with the rest of Tamriel, that Skyrim's future was tied to the survival of the Empire. As the war raged across Skyrim, the land itself seemed to be torn apart. The once peaceful villages were now battlefields, the skies darkened by the smoke of war. The mighty cities of Whiterun and Solitude, once thriving centers of culture and trade, now became the strongholds of opposing forces, their gates sealed tight as they prepared for the coming storm. The ancient ruins of Sovngarde, where the bravest of Nords were said to walk in the afterlife, echoed with the cries of those who had fallen in battle, their souls caught between the realm of the living and the world of the dead. The Stormcloaks were fierce in their resolve, their armies made up of warriors who had fought side by side in the harshest of winters, whose loyalty to Ulfric and to Skyrim ran deep. They fought not just for the land, but for the freedom to worship Talos and to live as they had always lived, free and unshackled by the rules of foreign rulers. The Imperials, though, were not without their strengths. The Empire had its own forces, its own resources, and its own sense of duty to maintain order. General Tullius, a man whose sense of honor was as strong as his love for the Empire, believed that the Civil War would tear Skyrim apart, and that the Empire's intervention was the only way to preserve peace. But the question remained, could peace truly be achieved by force? As the war dragged on, the blood of Nords was spilled on both sides. Families were divided, friendships broken, and a land once united by a shared heritage now seemed fractured beyond repair. The storms that had once been merely metaphorical now seemed to rage across the land itself, their winds howling with the fury of those who fought for what they believed in. And in the midst of it all stood Ulfric Stormcloak, his voice a rallying cry for those who sought Skyrim's freedom, and his spirit unbroken, even as the world around him seemed to crumble. Yet even in the heart of war, there was a flicker of hope, for despite the division, the Nords remained strong. They were a people bound by a shared history, by a shared love for their land and their gods. Whether they stood with Ulfric or against him, they fought not just for the present, but for the future of Skyrim. The Civil War was a battle for the soul of Skyrim, and in the end, only time would tell which path the land would choose, the path of independence or the path of unity. In the shadowy corners of Skyrim, where the light flickers dimly in the alleys and the whispers of the wind carry secrets from one ear to another, there exists a world unseen by most, one filled with intrigue, deception, and a code that governs those who live by their wits and their skill. It is a world that stands apart from the bustling cities, the mighty warriors, and the powerful mages who claim their place in Skyrim's grand history. This is the world of the Thieves' Guild. The Thieves' Guild is an ancient organization, shrouded in mystery and legend, whose influence stretches across all of Tamriel. Though it is not as outwardly visible as the great factions that shape Skyrim's destiny, it is a force to be reckoned with, a network of thieves, swindlers, and miscreants who, despite their less than noble profession, follow a set of rules that govern their actions. For within the guild, loyalty is paramount, and betrayal is the greatest sin. The guild's influence is felt in every corner of Skyrim, from the grand halls of Riften's market district to the quiet, hidden corners of Solitude. It is an organization whose actions ripple through the fabric of the land, affecting the lives of both the innocent and the guilty. At the heart of the Thieves' Guild lies its code, an unspoken set of rules that guide the actions of its members. While outsiders may view the guild as nothing more than a collection of criminals, to those who belong to it, the guild represents a way of life, a means of surviving in a world that often turns a blind eye to the less fortunate. The guild's code is strict and unforgiving. Loyalty to the guild is sacred, and those who betray it face harsh punishment. This sense of loyalty binds the thieves together, creating a network of individuals who, despite their differences, share a common goal: to steal, to outwit, and to survive in a world that seems designed to crush them. The leader of the Thieves Guild is known as the Guild Master, and they are the one who oversees the guild's operations, ensuring that its rules are followed and its members remain loyal. The Guild Master is a figure of both respect and fear, a person who commands the loyalty of those beneath them while maintaining the delicate balance of power that keeps the guild's operations running smoothly. Underneath the Guild Master, there are a number of other positions, each with its own responsibilities and duties. There are the Nightingales, the most skilled and trusted thieves within the guild, who serve as the eyes and ears of the Guild Master. There are also the Fences, who buy and sell the stolen goods, ensuring that the guild's wealth continues to grow. And then there are the Rookies, those new to the guild who must prove their worth before they are allowed to rise through the ranks. The role of the Thieves Guild within Skyrim is both complex and far reaching. On the surface, it is an organization of outcasts and criminals, but underneath that veneer lies a much deeper story, one of survival, of camaraderie, and of the drive to control the flow of wealth in a land where gold is often the most powerful currency. The guild's presence in Riften is perhaps the most well known, where its influence stretches into every corner of the city. The market district, though bustling with merchants and traders, is also a haven for thieves who operate under the protection of the guild. The law may claim the city for its own, but it is the guild that holds the true power in the shadows. But the Thieves Guild is not just a force in Riften. Its reach extends across the entirety of Skyrim, with guild members operating in cities, towns, and villages far beyond the borders of the capital. In Solitude, the guild runs its operations with a quiet efficiency, its members slipping in and out of the streets without drawing attention. In Windhelm, they control the flow of trade, ensuring that their hands are in every profitable deal. The guild's influence can even be felt in the most remote corners of Skyrim, where lone thieves steal from the unwary, knowing that they are part of something larger, something that stretches across the land like a network of roots beneath the soil. Despite their reach, however, the Thieves Guild has not always been able to maintain its power. Over the years, it has faced challenges from both internal and external forces. The return of the Dragonborn, a figure who threatens the balance of power in Skyrim, has only added to the guild's troubles. The guild's once great reputation has begun to fade as new factions rise to challenge its influence. The greed of the guild's leaders and the betrayal of certain members has led to internal strife, weakening the once mighty organization. The guild, once a symbol of power and influence, now finds itself struggling to maintain its grip on Skyrim's underworld. Yet even in the face of adversity, the guild continues to survive. It is an organization built on resilience, on the ability to adapt and overcome. The thieves of Skyrim, though divided by their individual goals, are united by their shared desire to take what is theirs and make their way in a world that often offers no other option. In this way, the Thieves Guild represents something deeper than mere crime. It represents the struggle of those who live in the margins, who must take what they need to survive. The guild's actions are not without consequence, however. While the thieves may operate in the shadows, their actions affect the world above them. The stolen wealth that the guild accumulates flows into the coffers of those who control the streets, often ending up in the hands of corrupt merchants, politicians, and nobles who use it to further their own interests. The guild's influence is felt in every deal, every transaction, and every exchange of coin. Though its members may live outside the law, the guild's existence serves as a reminder of the power that wealth holds in Skyrim's world, a power that transcends the boundaries of law and order. In the end, the Thieves' Guild is more than just an organization of criminals. It is a reflection of Skyrim itself, a land where survival is often a matter of taking what is needed, where power flows not just through the hands of the strong, but through the shadows of those who know how to manipulate it. The Guild's role in Skyrim's story is a complex one, filled with both darkness and light, a tale of survival, loyalty, and ambition in a land where power is the ultimate currency. Far to the north, beyond the snow covered plains of Skyrim, nestled among the towering mountains and ice ravaged waters, lies the College of Winterhold. This ancient institution is more than just a place of study. It is the beating heart of magic in Skyrim, a sanctuary for those who seek to understand the arcane, to uncover the hidden forces that govern the world, and to master the elements that shape reality itself. The college is a place of profound mystery, where ancient tomes are studied, forgotten spells are rediscovered, and the very nature of the world is explored by those brave enough to seek its secrets. Winterhold, the city that gives its name to the college, is a place of quiet beauty, shrouded in the cold breath of the wind and the soft, falling snow. It is a city that, over the years, has seen much hardship. The great destruction of the city, centuries ago, when the sea swallowed a large portion of the land, left its mark on the people and the place itself. The people of Winterhold have always been a resilient folk, hardened by the harshness of their surroundings, but the loss of their grand city and their former pride remains a shadow that lingers over them. Yet through it all, the college has remained, a beacon of knowledge and light in a world where darkness often prevails. The College of Winterhold is dedicated to the study of the arcane, a discipline as old as Tamriel itself. It is here that the most powerful mages in Skyrim come to refine their craft, to uncover the mysteries of magic, and to expand their understanding of the magical forces that permeate the world. The college is open to those who possess the talent and the will to learn, whether they be young prodigies or seasoned wizards, and it is a place where the pursuit of knowledge is revered above all else. At the college, magic is studied in its many forms: destruction, restoration, illusion, alteration, and enchanting. Each school of magic is housed within its own wing, its secrets carefully guarded by the scholars and practitioners who dwell within. The college's library, with its towering shelves filled with ancient texts and dusty scrolls, is a treasure trove of knowledge, a place where one can spend hours, or even days, lost in the written word, unraveling the arcane mysteries of the world. The mages who work here are not just scholars, but guardians of knowledge, determined to uncover the truths of the past and preserve them for the future. But it is not just the pursuit of knowledge that draws people to the college. It is also the opportunity to push the boundaries of magic itself. The mages of the college are not content with simply understanding the world. They seek to shape it. Through their studies, They experiment with new spells, new magical techniques, and new ways of harnessing the energy that flows through Tamriel. It is at the college that some of the most incredible feats of magic are achieved, feats that defy the laws of nature and challenge the very fabric of reality. The college is a place where the impossible becomes possible, where magic is no longer just a force of nature, but a tool to be wielded by those who dare to understand it. At the head of the college stands the Archmage, the leader of the mages who guides the institution and oversees its many operations. The Archmage is both a teacher and a protector, someone who ensures that the college remains true to its purpose and that its students are given the tools they need to succeed. The Archmage is not only the head of the college, but also its most powerful mage, a master of the arcane who embodies the knowledge and wisdom that the college seeks to impart. But even within the hallowed halls of the college, there are dangers. Magic, though a powerful tool, is also a force that can corrupt and destroy. The pursuit of knowledge can sometimes lead to obsession, and the desire to control the forces of nature can lead even the most well-intentioned mages down dark paths. Throughout its long history, the college has seen its share of scandal and betrayal, as well as the occasional dangerous experiment gone awry. Some of the most brilliant minds within the college have paid the price for their thirst for knowledge, their lives sacrificed in the pursuit of understanding the unknown. It was during one such dark chapter that the college faced its greatest threat, the Eye of Magnus, an artifact of immense power that, if left unchecked, could have torn the fabric of reality itself. The Eye, an ancient relic imbued with a mysterious and unpredictable magic, had been hidden away for centuries, but when its power was unleashed once more, the college found itself on the brink of destruction. The mages of the college, led by the Dragonborn, would confront this threat and seek to protect the college from the Eye's dangerous power. In doing so, they uncovered hidden truths about the college's past and the ancient forces that sought to control it. Beyond the magic and the mysteries, the College of Winterhold also serves as a place of refuge for those who have nowhere else to go. It is a place for outcasts, for those who have been cast aside by society for their magical talents or their lack of control over their abilities. The college welcomes them, offering a chance to learn and grow, to harness their powers for good, and to be part of a community that values knowledge and understanding above all else. In a land like Skyrim, where power and strength are often valued above all else, the college stands as a sanctuary for those who believe that knowledge is the truest form of power. The College of Winterhold's role in Skyrim's story is profound, for it represents the pursuit of wisdom in a world filled with danger and chaos. It is a place where the boundaries of reality are constantly tested, where the mysteries of the world are uncovered and preserved, and where magic is both a gift and a curse. For those who seek to understand the world beyond the surface, the college is a beacon of hope, a place where the pursuit of knowledge is the highest calling, and where the power of magic is both a source of wonder and a constant reminder of the forces that shape the world. In the darkest corners of Skyrim, where the light is swallowed by shadow and the air is thick with whispers, there exists an organization so secretive, so feared, that its very name sends shivers down the spine of those who speak it, the Dark Brotherhood. Unlike the powerful guilds and noble houses that shape the world of Skyrim, The Dark Brotherhood operates in secrecy, hidden from the eyes of the law and the reach of the Empire. It is a guild of assassins, of shadowy figures who make their living through death. But the Dark Brotherhood is more than just a group of killers. It is a way of life, a belief system, and a deeply ingrained part of Skyrim's history. The origins of the Dark Brotherhood are as mysterious as the shadowed halls in which its members dwell. Some say that it began long ago, when the first assassins banded together for the sake of profit, while others believe it is tied to the ancient, forgotten gods of death. What is known is that the Dark Brotherhood has always operated under a single, unshakable rule. We are the Silent Ones, the unseen hand that guides the fate of Tamriel. For the Brotherhood, assassination is not just a trade, it is an art, a calling that must be undertaken with reverence and dedication. The act of taking life, while not without its moral complexities, is seen as sacred within the Brotherhood, as a necessary service to the world and to their enigmatic patron, the Night Mother. The Night Mother is the heart of the Dark Brotherhood, a figure as feared as she is revered. She is said to be the ancient matron of the Brotherhood, the one who whispers the names of those who must be killed, and who guides the assassins in their sacred tasks. Her voice is heard only by those deemed worthy, and her presence is said to reside within the darkened shrines and crypts that dot the land, her influence extending beyond the grave. To be chosen by the Night Mother is a great honor, for it is believed that she speaks directly to the listener, the leader of the Brotherhood, guiding them in the execution of the Brotherhood's will. The listener is the highest ranking member of the Dark Brotherhood, the one who carries the weight of responsibility for the guild's actions. They are the ones who hear the Night Mother's whispers and pass on her commands to the rest of the Brotherhood. It is a position of great power, but also of great danger, for the listener's role is to maintain the delicate balance between the Brotherhood's actions and the world outside. The listener must ensure that the assassins never become too visible, too bold, or too reckless, for the consequences of such actions could bring ruin upon the entire organization. The Dark Brotherhood's members are as diverse as the land itself. From the brooding assassin who silently slips through the shadows to the charming and manipulative agent who uses words as weapons, each member brings their own unique skills to the table. The Brotherhood is a place where loyalty is earned through trust, where betrayal is the gravest sin, and where the bonds forged between its members are unbreakable. For those who join the Dark Brotherhood, it is not just a life of crime, it is a life of purpose, of serving the will of the Night Mother and the Brotherhood's unspoken code. But the Dark Brotherhood is not without its enemies. The Brotherhood's methods, while effective, are often at odds with the laws of Skyrim and the Empire. Many view the Dark Brotherhood as nothing more than a group of murderers, but there is more to the organization than meets the eye. To the Brotherhood, assassination is not a mindless act of violence, but a service rendered to those who are deserving of death. They believe that they are delivering justice, righting the wrongs of the world by removing those who have caused harm or who stand in the way of progress. In this sense, the Dark Brotherhood sees itself as both a judge and executioner, choosing who lives and who dies with precision and care. But as with all organizations, the Dark Brotherhood is not immune to internal strife. Over the centuries, Rivalries have emerged within the Brotherhood as members vie for power and control. The leadership has changed many times, and not all of these changes have been peaceful. The most infamous of these internal struggles came during the time of Astrid, a once loyal member who rose to power only to find herself caught in a struggle for dominance. Astrid's leadership, marked by both success and failure, ultimately led to a betrayal within the ranks. A betrayal that would haunt the Brotherhood for years to come. Despite these struggles, the Dark Brotherhood continues to operate in the shadows, carrying out its missions with quiet efficiency. It is an organization built on trust, secrecy, and the belief that death, while feared by most, is not to be feared by those who understand its necessity. The Brotherhood's assassins remain some of the most skilled and deadly individuals in Tamriel, able to slip in and out of places unseen, leaving nothing but silence in their wake. In Skyrim, the Dark Brotherhood's presence is felt most strongly in the secluded sanctuary, hidden deep within the forests and mountains. This sacred place serves as the Brotherhood's home base, a haven where its members can rest, plan, and prepare for their next contracts. The sanctuary is a place of both refuge and danger, where the only law is the Brotherhood's code, and the only justice is that which is meted out by the Night Mother's will. It is here that the most loyal of the Brotherhood reside, each one carrying out their missions with a quiet grace, knowing that their actions are guided by forces far greater than themselves. The Dark Brotherhood's role in Skyrim's story is one of complexity. It is a guild of assassins, yes, but it is also a reflection of the darker sides of human nature. It is a place where life and death are balanced on a knife's edge, where power, loyalty, and betrayal coexist. It is a reminder that even in the shadows, there is honor, and even in the darkest places, there is purpose. The Dark Brotherhood is not just an organization, it is a symbol of the ever present tension between light and dark, life and death, justice and vengeance. And in Skyrim, where the cold winds never cease and the battles of the past are never truly forgotten, the Dark Brotherhood continues to thrive, ever vigilant in the shadows. In the shadowed corners of Skyrim, where the sunlight is fleeting and the night stretches endlessly across the frozen land, there exists a faction dedicated to one singular purpose: to rid Tamriel of the ancient and fearsome vampires that threaten to engulf the world in darkness. This faction, known as the Dawn Guard, is a group of warriors, hunters, and scholars united by their unwavering commitment to destroy the vampiric threat that lurks in the shadows. They are a force of light in a world often shrouded in darkness, and their mission is one of great sacrifice as they stand as the last line of defense against the creatures of the night. The Dawn Guard's origins are as old as the vampire menace itself. For centuries, vampires have plagued the lands of Tamriel, their insidious influence spreading through the shadows, infecting those who cross their path and leaving a trail of death in their wake. These immortal creatures, once human, have embraced the power of the night and the blood of the living, and in doing so, have become something far more terrifying. They possess the ability to manipulate the very forces of nature, to bend the minds of mortals, and to command legions of lesser creatures to do their bidding. To defeat them is no small feat, for the vampire's immortality and their dark powers make them formidable adversaries. The Dawn Guard was formed as a response to this growing threat. It is said that a group of like minded individuals, drawn from the ranks of Skyrim's greatest warriors and scholars, came together in the time before the Fourth Era to wage war against the vampires. These early members of the Dawn Guard were led by the legendary Isran, a man whose heart burned with a fierce hatred for the undead, and whose resolve was as unyielding as the stone walls of the strongholds he built. Isran's vision was clear: to create a force capable of hunting down the vampires wherever they hid, striking swiftly and without mercy. The Dawn Guard's headquarters is a massive fortress carved from the rock and snow of Skyrim's mountains, a place where the sun never seems to set. It is here, in this cold and isolated stronghold, that the Dawn Guard trains its warriors and prepares for the battles ahead. The walls of the fortress are lined with banners and weapons, each one a testament to the blood that has been shed in the name of this sacred cause. The fortress is not just a home for the Dawn Guard, it is their sanctuary, a place where they can find solace in the knowledge that they are fighting for a future free from the scourge of vampirism. The warriors of the Dawn Guard are formidable, trained in the art of combat, and armed with weapons specifically designed to fight vampires. Crossbows, silvered swords, and the ancient sun-hallowed weapons, infused with the power of the sun, are the tools of their trade. These weapons, crafted with great care and imbued with the light of the sun, are the only things capable of slaying a vampire for good. But it is not just the weapons that make the Dawn Guard so effective. It is their unshakable will, their commitment to the cause, and their willingness to face death head on, knowing that their work is far from over. The battle between the Dawn Guard and the vampires is not just one of brute force, however. The vampires, though powerful, are cunning and elusive. They operate in the shadows, gathering strength and influence, infiltrating the ranks of mortals, and manipulating events to suit their needs. The Dawn Guard must rely not only on their weapons, but on their wits and strategy, using every advantage they can to track down and destroy the vampire lords who seek to dominate Skyrim and beyond. In the depths of the Dawn Guard's stronghold, scholars and mages work tirelessly to unravel the mysteries of vampirism. They study the ancient texts, the forgotten rituals, and the blood-soaked history of the vampire race, in hopes of discovering new ways to defeat them. The Dawn Guard's efforts are not limited to combat alone. They are also engaged in research, seeking knowledge that will allow them to understand the vampire's weaknesses, to find new ways of exploiting their vulnerabilities, and to gain the upper hand in the ongoing war. But as the Dawn Guard grows in strength, so too do the forces of darkness. The vampires, led by the cunning and powerful vampire Lord Harkon, have begun to rally their forces, seeking to unlock the hidden power of the Elder Scrolls and bring about an eternal night, one where the vampires reign supreme and the sun never rises again. Harkon's goal is nothing short of the domination of all mortal life, and he will stop at nothing to achieve it. In his pursuit of power, he seeks to use the power of the Elder Scrolls to unlock the hidden secrets of vampirism, to create an army of vampires more powerful than anything Tamriel has ever seen. The conflict between the Dawn Guard and the vampires comes to a head when the Dragonborn, a legendary figure capable of defeating dragons with the power of their voice, enters the fray. With the Dragonborn's arrival, the Dawn Guard gains a powerful ally, one capable of turning the tide of the war against the vampires. The Dragonborn's strength and the power of their thuum are a key weapon in the fight against Harkon and his vampire army. With their help, the Dawn Guard is able to push back the forces of darkness, confronting Harkon in his own lair and ultimately putting an end to his reign of terror. But even with the defeat of Harkon, the war against the vampires is far from over. Though their leader has fallen, the vampires remain a threat, and the Dawn Guard continues to stand as the last bastion against the darkness. Their battle is one that will never truly end, for as long as the vampires lurk in the shadows, the Dawn Guard will remain vigilant, always ready to defend the light and protect the people of Skyrim from the creatures of the night. The Dawn Guard's legacy is one of courage, sacrifice, and determination. They are a group of individuals who have chosen to face the darkness, to fight for the safety of Skyrim, and to protect the world from the threat of vampirism. Their work is not glamorous, and it is often fraught with danger, but it is a noble cause. The Dawn Guard's story is one of hope. Hope that, even in the darkest of times, there are those who will rise to meet the challenge, who will fight against the shadows and bring the light back to the world. In the heart of Whiterun, where the winds sweep through the great plains and the firelight of the hearth glows warmly in the distance, there exists a brotherhood that stands as a testament to Skyrim's enduring strength and spirit, the Companions. Unlike the many factions and guilds that dot the landscape of Tamriel, the Companions are not bound by gold or magical power. They are bound by their honor, their loyalty, and their shared purpose to protect the people of Skyrim and uphold the ancient traditions of their ancestors. In a world where danger lurks at every corner, the Companions are a symbol of the fierce, unyielding courage that defines the Nords. The Companions are more than just a group of warriors. They are a family, a brotherhood, bound not by blood, but by their shared commitment to fight for the greater good. They are drawn from all walks of life, each one with their own history, their own reasons for joining the ranks of the Companions, but each one united by the same purpose, to protect Skyrim from the threats that seek to destroy it. In many ways, the Companions are the last line of defense against the dangers that dwell in Skyrim's wilds, and their bond to one another is unshakable. At the heart of the Companions is Jorrvaskr, their great mead hall located just outside Whiterun. This ancient stronghold, built from stone and wood, stands as both a home and a sanctuary for the warriors who call it their own. The hall is a place of warmth and camaraderie, where the Companions gather to share tales of their battles, to drink together in celebration of their victories, and to seek solace in the knowledge that they are a part of something greater than themselves. In Jorrvaskr, the Companions find strength in their unity, and it is here that they train, hone their skills, and prepare for the battles that await them beyond the walls of the hall. The leader of the Companions is Kodlak Whitemane, an elder warrior whose wisdom and experience guide the Brotherhood. Kodlak is not only a leader, but a figure of reverence within the Companions, respected for his strength in battle and his unwavering commitment to the principles that the Companions stand for. He has seen many battles in his time, and his leadership has steered the Companions through some of Skyrim's darkest moments. Yet despite his age, Kodlak's resolve remains as strong as ever, and his desire to see the Companions remain true to their ancient ideals is unshakable. The Companions' origins stretch back to the days of Ysgramor, the first leader of the Nords. It is said that Ysgramor and his followers, known as the 500, established the Companions as a brotherhood of warriors dedicated to defending Skyrim and its people from the threats that sought to destroy it. Over time, the Companions evolved from a group of war hardened soldiers into a more organized guild, yet they never lost sight of their original purpose. They have always been warriors, first and foremost, and their code is one of honor, loyalty, and respect. Despite their noble goals, the Companions are not without their flaws. Like any group bound by tradition, there are those who seek to undermine the very values that the Companions were founded upon. Some Companions, particularly those who are younger and less experienced, struggle with the temptation of power, and there are times when their actions conflict with the noble ideals they are supposed to uphold. Yet, the Companions' strength lies not in their perfection, but in their ability to learn from their mistakes, to overcome their personal flaws, and to come together as a united front when the need arises. One of the greatest trials the Companions have faced in recent history is their struggle with a mysterious curse that has plagued their ranks. This curse, which has affected only a select few members of the Brotherhood, grants them the ability to transform into werewolves, a power that is both a blessing and a curse. The Companion's connection to this curse runs deep, for it is tied to the ancient bloodline of the Harbingers, the leaders of the Companions, who are said to be descended from Ysgramor himself. The werewolf curse is both a symbol of the Companion's strength and a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power. For some, the transformation is a gift, a powerful tool that grants them the strength to fight against even the most formidable of enemies. For others, it is a burden, a constant struggle to control the beast within. Despite the challenges posed by this curse, the Companions have remained steadfast in their commitment to their cause. The werewolf curse, though difficult to bear, has become an integral part of their identity, and they have learned to harness its power when necessary. In the end, the Companions' strength is not found in their ability to defeat their enemies, but in their unity and their unwavering belief in the values that they hold dear. They are a brotherhood that is willing to fight for what is right, even when it means facing their own demons. The Companions' role in Skyrim's story is not just one of battle and bloodshed. They are a living testament to the Nords' unbreakable spirit, their commitment to protecting their land, and their unwavering loyalty to one another. They are a reminder that even in the harshest of times, there are those who will rise to defend what is worth fighting for. Their story is one of sacrifice, of honor, and of the enduring strength of the bonds that tie them together. For those who choose to walk the path of the Companions, it is a journey that requires great courage, great sacrifice, and a willingness to stand in the face of darkness. But it is also a journey that offers a sense of belonging, a chance to be part of something greater than oneself, and the knowledge that, no matter how dire the odds, the Companions will always stand together, united in their purpose. The Companions are more than just a group of warriors. They are a family, a brotherhood forged in the fires of battle and bound by a code that transcends blood. And as long as Skyrim stands, the Companions will continue to fight, their strength and honor a beacon of light in the darkest of times. In the windswept mountains and the deep quiet valleys of Skyrim, where the echoes of ancient legends still linger in the air, there exists a power unlike any other, one that binds the mortal world to the realms of dragons and gods. This power belongs to the Dragonborn, or Dovahkiin, a chosen individual born with the soul of a dragon, a person capable of harnessing the power of the Thuum, the voice, to shape the world around them. The Dovahkiin is a figure of myth and prophecy, a living legend whose destiny is written in the stars and whose actions will determine the fate of Skyrim and beyond. The calling of the Dragonborn is a sacred one, for it is not a title that can be earned or taken lightly. It is a gift bestowed by the gods, a power that is granted to those who are chosen to wield the ancient and powerful magic of the Thuum. This magic, known as the Voice, allows the Dragonborn to speak the language of dragons and to unleash the power of their shouts. These shouts, or shouts, in the tongue of the dragons, are more than mere words. They are expressions of raw power, capable of altering the fabric of reality itself. The voice can summon storms, shatter mountains, and even command the very essence of life and death. The origins of the Dovahkiin are tied to the ancient history of Skyrim and the dragons that once ruled the skies. It is said that long ago, the first Dragonborn emerged in the time of the dragons, when the world was still young and the power of the dragons was unchallenged. These first Dragonborn were revered as heroes, their strength and bravery legendary. They stood as the protectors of Skyrim, wielding the power of the voice to defeat their enemies and maintain the balance between mortals and dragons. But the power of the Dragonborn was not without its dangers. Over time, the dragons grew jealous of the mortals who possessed this power, and they waged war against them, hoping to reclaim their dominance over the skies. Yet even as the dragons fell, the legacy of the Dragonborn endured. The power of the voice was passed down through the ages, and though it would fade into legend for many years, it would eventually return to the land of Skyrim in the form of a new Dragonborn. This time, however, the arrival of the Dragonborn was not met with celebration or hope. It was met with fear. For the dragons, long believed to be extinct, had returned to Skyrim, and with them came an ancient evil that threatened to destroy all of Tamriel. The return of the dragons set into motion the prophecy of the Dragonborn. It was said that when the dragons returned, the Dragonborn would rise to face them, to wield the power of the voice and defeat their ancient foes. And so it was that, in the midst of Skyrim's darkest days, the Dragonborn emerged, a figure unlike any other, destined to walk the path of both the living and the dead, to face the fire of the dragons and the cold winds of destiny. The life of the Dragonborn is one of constant struggle, for they are not just warriors, they are the keepers of an ancient and terrible power. The power of the voice is both a gift and a curse, for the Dragonborn is bound to it, and they must learn to control it or risk being consumed by it. The shouts that they wield are capable of great destruction, and it is only through discipline and wisdom that the Dragonborn can learn to harness their power for the greater good. Every shout, every use of the voice, brings with it a choice to use the power to heal, to protect, or to destroy. The Dragonborn's path is also one of discovery, for in their journey to confront the dragons, they uncover truths about their own heritage, their own bloodline, and the legacy that has been passed down to them. The Dragonborn is not just a warrior, they are a symbol, a link between the past and the future, a living embodiment of the ancient power that once ruled the skies. As they uncover the secrets of the dragons, the Dragonborn comes to understand that their destiny is tied not just to Skyrim, but to the very fabric of Tamriel itself. But the path of the Dragonborn is not one that is walked alone. Along the way, they will encounter many who seek to aid them, whether out of loyalty, admiration, or a shared sense of purpose. The people of Skyrim are no strangers to war and conflict, and they look to the Dragonborn as their hope in a world filled with darkness. The Dragonborn will forge alliances with the Nords, the Elves, the Khajiit, and the Argonians, each group offering their unique skills, knowledge, and strength to the cause. The power of the Dragonborn lies not just in their ability to fight, but in their ability to unite the people of Skyrim and inspire them to stand against the forces of evil. The Dragonborn's journey will take them to the farthest reaches of Skyrim, from the frozen tundras of the Pale to the lush forests of Falkreath, from the towering peaks of the Throat of the World to the desolate, dragon-infested plains of the Reach. In these lands, the Dragonborn will face countless trials, from battling fierce creatures and marauding bandits to unraveling the mysteries of ancient ruins and long-forgotten temples. Every challenge that the Dragonborn faces brings them closer to their ultimate goal. Face Alduin, the World Eater, the ancient dragon whose return heralds the end of the world. In the final battle, the Dragonborn will face Alduin atop the throat of the world, the highest peak in all of Skyrim. It is here that the Dragonborn will use the full power of their voice to confront the World Eater, to challenge the ancient dragon, and put an end to the destruction that he seeks to bring. The battle will be fierce, and the stakes will be higher than ever, for the fate of Skyrim and all of Tamriel rests in the hands of the Dragonborn. But even in the midst of battle, the Dragonborn's true power lies not just in their ability to defeat their enemies, but in their ability to inspire hope, to bring light to the darkest corners of the world, and to remind the people of Skyrim that they are never truly alone. The Dragonborn's journey is one of sacrifice, of self-discovery, and of the enduring strength of the human spirit. They are more than just a hero. They are a symbol of everything that Skyrim stands for: resilience, courage, and the unbreakable will to face the storm and emerge victorious. In the quietest corners of Tamriel, where time seems to stand still and the winds of fate whisper through the ages, there lies a power so ancient, so unfathomable, that it has shaped the very foundation of the world itself. This power is known as the Elder Scrolls, ancient mystical texts that hold the secrets of the universe, the fabric of reality, and the destinies of gods and mortals alike. These scrolls, wrapped in enigma and guarded by forces beyond comprehension, are as much a mystery as they are a prophecy, and their influence extends through the pages of time, altering the course of history with every word written. The Elder Scrolls are not mere books or relics. They are living prophecies, bound not to a single moment in time, but to the very essence of existence itself. These scrolls hold knowledge of past, present, and future, hidden truths about the rise and fall of empires, the lives of gods, and the shifting of worlds. They contain knowledge that can alter the course of history, revealing the fates of nations, the destinies of kings, and the paths of heroes. But the power of the Elder Scrolls is not easily understood. The knowledge contained within them is often cryptic, fragmented and veiled in metaphor, requiring the greatest minds of Tamriel to decipher their meaning. The scrolls themselves are said to have been written by the gods themselves, and each one contains the essence of a particular moment in time. Some say they were created by the divine forces that shaped the world at the dawn of creation, while others believe they were shaped by the hands of mortals, guided by visions and prophecies bestowed upon them by the gods. Regardless of their origin, the Elder Scrolls are not meant for the mortal eye to see. They are artifacts of immense power, and those who seek to possess them often find themselves at the mercy of forces far beyond their understanding. One of the most sought after and dangerous of the Elder Scrolls is the Scroll of Prophecy, which is said to contain knowledge of the future. This particular scroll is rumored to be able to predict the outcome of wars, the rise and fall of great leaders, and the fate of entire civilizations. It is said that those who gaze upon the scroll may glimpse the future in flashes of light, but at a terrible cost. The knowledge contained within the scroll is not for the faint of heart, for those who seek to understand it often find themselves lost in the vast and unfathomable web of fate, unable to return to their own time or reality. The power of the Elder Scrolls has drawn the attention of many throughout history, from kings and emperors to mages and scholars. The great city of Cyrodiil, once the heart of the empire, is home to the Imperial Library, where many of these ancient texts are kept under lock and key. It is here that scholars and mages from across Tamriel gather to study the scrolls, hoping to uncover their secrets and unlock the mysteries of the universe. But even within the walls of the Imperial Library, there are those who would stop at nothing to gain control of the Elder Scrolls, knowing that their power could change the world forever. The Elder Scrolls also play a key role in the story of the Dragonborn, whose own destiny is intricately tied to the ancient prophecies contained within these sacred texts. The prophecy of the Dragonborn, for example, speaks of a chosen hero born with the soul of a dragon who will rise to face the return of Alduin, the World Eater, and defeat him in the final battle to save Tamriel. The scrolls, though cryptic, point to the Dragonborn as the savior of the world, the one who will restore balance and harmony in the face of an ancient and seemingly unstoppable evil. But even as the Dragonborn fulfills their role in the prophecy, the mysteries of the Elder Scrolls continue to unfold. The prophecies contained within these scrolls are not always clear, and their interpretations often differ from one scholar to another. Some believe that the Elder Scrolls hold the key to understanding the very nature of time and reality itself, while others view them as merely the ramblings of ancient minds lost to history. But regardless of their interpretation, there is no denying the power that the Elder Scrolls hold, or the impact they have had on the world. In addition to the prophecies, the Elder Scrolls also contain knowledge of ancient magic and forbidden rituals, powers so potent that they can alter the very fabric of existence. The magic of the scrolls is said to be far beyond the reach of any mortal mage, transcending the boundaries of space and time. Some scrolls are said to contain knowledge of the creation of the world, the shaping of the stars, and the forces that bind the universe together. It is knowledge that is both awe-inspiring and terrifying, for to possess such power is to risk losing oneself to the depths of madness and chaos. The Elder Scrolls are also deeply connected to the forces of oblivion, the planes of existence that exist beyond the mortal realm. The Daedric princes, powerful and unpredictable beings who govern the realms of oblivion, are said to have a hand in the creation and manipulation of the scrolls, shaping their contents to reflect their own desires and agendas. The Daedric princes are often seen as enemies of the mortal world, their influence bringing chaos and destruction wherever they go. Yet, it is through their manipulation of the Elder Scrolls that the threads of fate are woven, and it is through the scrolls that mortals are able to glimpse the true nature of the Daedric princes and their realms. As the story of the Elder Scrolls unfolds, it becomes clear that their power is not to be taken lightly. The knowledge contained within these texts has the ability to change the course of history, to reveal the hidden truths of the world, and to shape the future of Tamriel itself. But with this knowledge comes great responsibility. For those who seek to unlock the secrets of the Elder Scrolls must be prepared to face the consequences of their actions. The scrolls are not merely relics of the past, they are the keys to the future, and those who seek them out must be prepared to wield their power with great care, for the line between salvation and destruction is often thinner than one might think. In the windswept land of Skyrim, where the cold winds whip through the trees and the peaks of the mountains scrape the sky, the people's lives have always been shaped by a deep connection to the divine. The gods of Skyrim are not distant, unreachable beings, but living forces that are woven into the very fabric of the land. To the Nords, the gods are ever present, their influence felt in every gust of wind, every snowfall, and every triumph or defeat in battle. Worship and belief are a central part of the lives of Skyrim's people, for they believe that the gods guide them, protect them, and shape their fate. Among the many gods worshipped in Skyrim, the most revered is Shor, the god of the underworlds and ruler of Sovngarde, the Nordic afterlife. Shor is a powerful and mysterious god, one whose influence extends far beyond the afterlife. He is the god of strength, courage, and the will to survive, and his followers call upon his name before battle, seeking his protection and guidance. Shor is the embodiment of the Nord spirit, a god who understands the harshness of life, the value of sacrifice, and the importance of perseverance. In times of hardship, when the winds howl and the mountains seem impassable, the Nords turn to Shor for strength, knowing that their struggles are never in vain. But Shor is not the only god that the Nords worship. The pantheon of Skyrim is vast and varied, with each god embodying a different aspect of life and nature. There is Kine, the goddess of the storm and the wild, who is often depicted as a warrior queen, her voice as fierce as the winds that blow across the land. Kine is the goddess of hunters and warriors, of those who brave the harsh wilderness in search of sustenance and honor. Her followers believe that she is the spirit of the wind, the breath of the earth, and the roar of the storm. To the Nords, Kine is a protector, a guide, and a fierce mother figure whose strength is felt in every hunt and every battle. Then there is Talos, the god of war and the patron of the Nords' struggle for independence. Talos was once a mortal man, a hero who led his people to victory and ascended to godhood through his deeds. As the Dragonborn, Talos is the symbol of the Nords' strength, determination, and unyielding will. His worship is a point of great pride for the Nords, and his name is spoken with reverence in every corner of Skyrim. Yet Talos's worship is also a source of tension, for the Empire's peace with the Aldmeri Dominion has resulted in the banning of Talos worship, leading to a deep rift between the Nords and the Empire. For the Nords, the worship of Talos is not just a religious practice, but a declaration of their independence and their right to self-determination. Beyond the gods of Skyrim, there are the Daedric princes, powerful and enigmatic beings who rule over the plains of oblivion. These princes are often seen as malevolent forces, their influence chaotic and unpredictable. Yet despite their darker nature, the Daedric princes are still revered by some of Skyrim's people, especially those who seek power, wealth, or knowledge beyond the mortal realm. Among these princes is Molag Bal, the lord of domination, who seeks to enslave mortals to his will, and Boethia, the prince of plots, who embodies treachery and ambition. Each Daedric prince has their own followers, who perform rituals, make sacrifices, and call upon their patron to gain favor and power. The worship of the Daedric princes is controversial, for their actions often result in chaos and destruction. Yet for some, their power is too tempting to resist. The Daedric princes offer promises of greatness, of the fulfillment of desires, and the acquisition of unimaginable power. Those who choose to follow them are often caught in a dangerous game, as they walk the fine line between gaining the rewards of their devotion and losing their soul to the whims of their dark patrons. In contrast to the Daedric princes, there are the Divine Nine, the gods worshipped by the imperial cult, whose influence extends across Tamriel. These gods represent the ideal virtues of honor, justice, and protection, and their worship is more structured and formal than that of the Nord's gods. Among the Divine Nine, there is Stendar, the god of mercy and justice, whose followers seek to heal the sick and protect the weak, and Mara, the goddess of love and compassion, who is the protector of families and relationships. Each of the Divine Nine represents a different aspect of the mortal experience, and their worship is seen as a way to bring balance to the world, to ensure that the forces of good prevail over the darkness. While the Nords revere their gods for strength, battle, and survival, their worship is also a reflection of their connection to the land itself. To the Nords, the gods are not distant figures residing in the heavens, but part of the very fabric of Skyrim, each one embodying an aspect of nature, from the fierce winds of Kine to the deep roots of the earth that anchor the land. Skyrim's gods are not abstract concepts, but forces that live and breathe within the world, guiding the people in every action, every victory, and every sacrifice. Despite the differences in worship, the gods of Skyrim share one common trait. They demand respect and devotion. Whether through battle, prayer, sacrifice, or meditation, the Nords' relationship with their gods is one of mutual respect and understanding. In times of joy, the people of Skyrim offer thanks to their gods, and in times of sorrow, they seek their guidance and strength. To the Nords, the gods are not just beings to be worshipped from afar, but entities that shape the very fabric of life. They are part of the world, and the world is shaped by their presence. As the cold winds blow across Skyrim, carrying the whispers of the gods through the trees, the Nords continue to live in harmony with their beliefs. Their gods watch over them, their voices felt in every thunderclap, in every storm, in every battle fought beneath that ever changing sky. To the Nords, the gods are not simply legends, they are the force that gives life meaning, that drives them forward through the long, cold nights, and that reminds them of the power of faith, honor, and loyalty. Beyond the snow covered mountains of Skyrim, across the vast deserts and lush jungles of Tamriel, there exists a people whose culture is as rich and diverse as the land they call home, the Khajiit. Hailing from the sun drenched deserts of elsewhere, the Khajiit are known for their agility, their keen senses, and their ability to adapt to the harshest of environments. But they are more than just their physical prowess. They are a people with a deep connection to their land, their history, and their gods. The Khajiit are as ancient as the sands of elsewhere, and their culture is woven with tales of mystery, magic, and the timeless rhythm of the desert. The Khajiit are a proud and noble people whose history stretches back to the earliest days of Tamriel. Their ancestors, the Ta'agra, were once nomadic tribes who wandered the deserts of elsewhere, seeking shelter and sustenance in the vast, arid plains. Over time, the Khajiit formed villages, towns, and cities along the fertile river valleys and in the lush jungles that dotted the landscape. Their society is built upon a foundation of trade, diplomacy, and respect for the land. The Khajiit are skilled traders, known throughout Tamriel for their ability to barter goods, craft beautiful items, and negotiate favorable deals. Their cities are filled with markets and bazaars where merchants from all over the world gather to exchange goods and stories, and where the scents of exotic spices, incense, and fresh fruit fill the air. At the heart of Khajiiti culture is their relationship with the moons, Masr and Secunda, which have a deep spiritual significance. The Khajiit believe that their very forms and destinies are shaped by the phases of the moons, with each phase giving rise to different types of Khajiit, from the agile Suthe to the towering Senche, whose strength and endurance are unmatched. The moon's influence is so profound that the Khajiit are divided into a variety of distinct breeds, each with their own abilities, appearance, and characteristics. The moons are also central to Khajiiti religion, with the Khajiit worshipping a pantheon of gods and goddesses who embody aspects of their culture, nature, and personal qualities. The worship of the moons and the divine is an essential part of the Khajiit's way of life. At the forefront of their pantheon stands the goddess Rajin, the trickster who embodies the qualities of wit, agility, and stealth. Rajin is the patron of thieves, rogues, and adventurers, and her followers are often those who walk the line between light and shadow. Rajin's power is reflected in the Khajiit's ability to move with grace and speed, and to outwit their enemies with a flick of their claws. But Rajin is not alone in the Khajiiti pantheon. There are also the gods of the moons, Masr, the greater moon, and Secunda, the lesser moon, whose cycles shape the Khajiit's very existence. The Khajiit believe that the moons are the divine creators of their people, and their alignment dictates the form a Khajiit will take upon birth. Though the Khajiit are known for their grace and agility, their culture is not one of isolation. The Khajiit have always had a deep connection to the rest of Tamriel, and their cities and towns are frequent meeting places for travelers, traders, and adventurers from all corners of the world. The Khajiit's wealth in goods, spices, and rare materials has made them one of the most sought-after peoples in Tamriel. Their caravans travel far and wide, selling everything from luxurious silks and intoxicating perfumes to rare artifacts and powerful potions. The Khajiit are skilled in alchemy, their potions often highly sought after for their healing properties or their ability to enhance the body's natural strength and agility. But while the Khajiit are a prosperous and influential people, they have also faced their share of hardships. Throughout their history, they have been subject to the whims of outside forces, from the Empire's attempts to control their trade routes to the relentless invasions of other races seeking to conquer their land. The Khajiit's independence is fiercely guarded, and they have a long history of fighting to protect their homeland from those who would seek to exploit them. The cities of elsewhere have seen their share of battles, but the Khajiit are not just warriors, they are diplomats, able to negotiate peace as easily as they draw their blades. They understand that strength lies not only in battle, but in the ability to navigate the complex web of relationships that define their place in the world. One of the most significant events in Khajiiti history was the arrival of the Thalmor, the ruling faction of the Aldmeri Dominion. The Thalmor's attempts to exert control over elsewhere were met with fierce resistance from the Khajiit, leading to a long-standing tension between the two powers. The Khajiit, despite their love for peace and diplomacy, were not willing to bow to the Thalmor's demands. This conflict culminated in the Khajiiti uprising, when the people of elsewhere rose up against their oppressors, fighting to defend their land, their freedom, and their way of life. The Khajiit's ability to unite in the face of such a threat is a testament to their resilience and determination, qualities that have served them well throughout their history. Yet despite their struggles, the Khajiit remain a people of joy and celebration. Their festivals, rich with music, dance, and feasts, are a reflection of their love for life, their appreciation for beauty, and their belief in the power of community. The Khajiit are known for their storytelling, their songs, and their love for the arts. Their musicians play instruments that are both exotic and captivating, weaving melodies that stir the heart and soul. They also have a deep love for poetry, and their ancient tales are filled with lessons about life, love, and the nature of the world. The Khajiit's devotion to art and culture is a testament to their belief that beauty can be found even in the harshest of places. The Khajiit of elsewhere are a people bound by the sands of their homeland, but their reach extends far beyond the borders of their desert. Their caravans are known throughout Tamriel, their influence felt in every corner of the world. They are a people who, despite the trials and tribulations they face, continue to thrive, to celebrate, and to pass on their rich heritage to future generations. The Khajiit's journey is one of resilience, joy, and the unbreakable bond they share with their land, their gods, and each other. In the rugged, untamed wilderness of Skyrim, where the jagged peaks meet the sprawling forests, there exists a land that is as beautiful as it is violent. The Reach is a place of both ancient history and bitter conflict, where the past and present collide in a ceaseless struggle for power, identity, and survival. It is a land shaped by the ancient druids, by the rise and fall of civilizations, and by the indomitable spirit of the Forsworn, a group of warriors and rebels who have fought for centuries to reclaim their land from foreign invaders. The Reach, located in the southwestern corner of Skyrim, is a land of deep valleys, high cliffs, and rolling hills. Its beauty is breathtaking, with the snow-capped mountains towering over the dark forests and flowing rivers. Yet beneath this serene exterior lies a history marked by violence and strife, a history that is written in the blood of both invaders and defenders. The Reach has long been a contested land, coveted by both the Nords and the Reachmen, the native inhabitants who have called this place home for centuries. It is said that the Reachmen are the descendants of the Druids, an ancient and mystical people who once wielded great power over the land and the elements. The Reachmen, or the Forsworn as they are known today, are a fierce and proud people whose history is as old as the land itself. They are a warrior society, bound by ancient traditions and rituals, and their loyalty to their land and their gods is unwavering. The Forsworn are known for their mastery of guerrilla warfare, for their ability to blend into the wilderness and strike swiftly when the time comes. They are a people of the earth, connected to the land in ways that few others understand. The Forsworn's devotion to their homeland is reflected in the way they fight, fiercely, without hesitation, and without fear. For centuries, the Reach has been a battleground, with the Forsworn resisting the encroachment of the Nords and other invaders who sought to claim the land as their own. The Nords, ever expanding in their conquest of Skyrim, have long viewed the Reach as part of their rightful territory. However, the Reachmen, unwilling to bend to foreign rule, have fought back time and time again. This struggle, known as the Forsworn Rebellion, has been a defining feature of the Reach's history, one that has shaped the identity of its people and the land they hold dear. The Forsworn Rebellion began many centuries ago, when the Nords first established their dominance over the Reach. The Nords, seeing the land as fertile and rich in resources, sought to claim it as part of their kingdom. But the Reachmen, whose ancestors had lived on this land for millennia, resisted fiercely. Led by their chieftains and shamans, the Forsworn launched a series of uprisings against the Nordic invaders. These skirmishes, though brutal and bloody, were only the beginning of a larger conflict that would span generations. For the Forsworn, the conflict was not just a matter of territorial expansion, it was a matter of survival. To them, the land of the Reach is sacred, a place where their ancestors once communed with the gods and where the spirits of the earth still linger. The Forsworn believe that the land has a soul, a spirit that must be protected and revered. To lose the Reach to foreign rule would mean the loss of their identity, their culture, and their way of life. It is for this reason that the Forsworn are willing to fight to the death for their land, and why they view any foreign presence in the Reach as an affront to their very existence. The Nords, however, have always been a determined and ambitious people. They view the Reach as part of their kingdom, a land that must be brought into the fold. The Nords' influence over the Reach grew over time with the establishment of key cities such as Markarth, which became the heart of Nordic power in the region. The construction of the city, built into the mountains themselves, is a testament to the Nords' engineering prowess and their desire to tame the wilderness. But to the Forsworn, Markarth represents an alien force, a symbol of the foreign rule that they have fought against for centuries. The Forsworn's resistance to Nordic rule culminated in the Great Uprising, known as the Forsworn Rebellion, which began in earnest during the Fourth Era. The Forsworn, led by their charismatic leader Madanak, rallied their people against the forces that had long occupied their lands. Madanach, a fierce and cunning leader, sought to unite the disparate forsworn tribes and lead them in a final stand against the Nords and their allies. Under his leadership, the Forsworn launched a series of coordinated attacks against the Nords, striking at their settlements and fortifications with brutal precision. Despite their fierce resistance, the Forsworn were ultimately defeated in the Forsworn Rebellion. The Nords, with their superior numbers and resources, were able to suppress the rebellion and retake control of Markarth. Madanach and many of his followers were captured and imprisoned, and the Forsworn were once again forced to retreat into the wilderness. But even in defeat, the Forsworn never gave up their fight. They retreated to their mountain strongholds, hiding in the depths of the Reach, waiting for the day when they would rise again. In the years that followed the rebellion, the Forsworn's presence in the Reach remained a constant thorn in the side of the Nords. Though the Forsworn had been pushed back into the mountains, their resistance never ceased. They continued to launch raids against Nordic settlements, targeting those who dared to trespass on their sacred land. The Nords, though stronger, knew that the Forsworn would never be fully defeated as long as they held the land of the Reach. Today, the Forsworn remain a powerful and enigmatic force in Skyrim. Though their rebellion has been quelled, their influence is still felt in the wilds of the Reach. The Forsworn are not simply rebels, they are the last remnants of an ancient culture, a people whose connection to the land and their gods is unbreakable. In the mountains of the Reach, the Forsworn continue to fight for their homeland, their traditions, and their way of life. The story of the Forsworn and the Reach is one of tragedy and resilience, a tale of a people who will never give up their fight for the land they hold dear. It is a story that is etched into the very stone of the Reach, a story that will continue to unfold as long as the people of Skyrim stand and as long as the Forsworn hold their sacred land. Skyrim, a land as ancient as the mountains that cut through its heart, has long been a place of both beauty and conflict. Its rugged landscape, wild and untamed, mirrors the spirit of its people, fierce, proud, and unyielding. The civil war that has torn through the land of Skyrim is not just a political struggle. It is the echo of a deeper conflict, one that stretches back through the ages to a time when the Nords themselves fought to shape their destiny. The Nords' battle for Skyrim's future is a reflection of their fight for identity, autonomy, and independence in a world increasingly dominated by outside forces. At the heart of the Civil War lies a fundamental question: what does it mean to be a Nord? For many, the answer is simple. A Nord is a warrior, a protector of their homeland, a defender of their gods and traditions. But this simplicity has become muddied over the centuries. The Nords have always been fiercely independent, and their pride in their heritage runs deep. However, in the Fourth Era, as the Empire of Tamriel has weakened and the Thalmor have risen to power, the Nords find themselves at a crossroads. The question of Skyrim's future is no longer about just fighting for survival. It is about fighting for what it means to be a Nord in a world that seems to be changing faster than they can control. On one side of the conflict stands the Stormcloaks, a group led by Ulfric Stormcloak, the Jarl of Windhelm, who believes that Skyrim's future lies in its independence from the Empire. Ulfric's cause is not just about resistance against the Empire, but also about the freedom to worship Talos, the Nordic god of war and the champion of the Nord's ancestral roots. Talos's worship has been outlawed by the Empire due to their agreement with the Aldmeri Dominion, the Thalmor's oppressive regime. For the Stormcloaks, this ban on Talos worship is a direct attack on their identity and their freedom. Ulfric Stormcloak's passion for Skyrim's independence runs deep. He believes that Skyrim should be ruled by the Nords, for the Nords, and that no foreign power should dictate the course of their destiny. For Ulfric, the Empire's dealings with the Aldmeri Dominion, particularly the ban on Talos worship, are a betrayal of everything Skyrim stands for. The Stormcloaks are determined to see Skyrim break free from the Empire's influence, to see their people return to their old ways, and to reclaim their rightful place as rulers of their land. The Stormcloaks fight not just for the future, but for the preservation of the past, the traditions, the gods, and the independence that have defined the Nords for millennia. On the other side of the conflict stands the Imperial Legion, led by General Tullius, a soldier who believes that Skyrim's future lies in its continued allegiance to the Empire. The Empire, though weakened by internal strife, still represents a force of order and stability in a world fraught with chaos. For General Tullius and those who support him, Skyrim's place within the Empire is essential not only for political stability, but for the protection of the wider world. The Nords, in Tullius's view, must remain united with the rest of Tamriel, for only through unity can they hope to withstand the threats that lie beyond their borders. The growing power of the Aldmeri Dominion, the ever-present danger of the dragons, and the myriad threats from the chaos of Oblivion itself. The Imperial Legion sees the Stormcloaks as rebels, as people who would tear Skyrim apart for the sake of their pride and their gods. They view Ulfric's call for independence as a dangerous, selfish pursuit that will only weaken Skyrim and open the door for enemies to take advantage of the divide. To the Imperials, the Stormcloaks' desire to return to a bygone age is an illusion, an age that is long gone, replaced by the reality of a changing world. The Empire, for all its flaws, offers Skyrim the protection and the resources it needs to survive in a world where the gods themselves seem distant and uncertain. The Imperials believe that Skyrim's strength lies in unity, not division, and that the path to Skyrim's future lies not in rebellion, but in reconciliation and compromise. The Nords' struggle for Skyrim's future is not merely a battle between two armies. It is a battle for the soul of the land itself. It is a clash between those who long for the past and those who look to the future. The Stormcloaks fight for the preservation of their traditions, their gods, and their autonomy, while the Imperial Legion fights for unity, order, and stability in a fractured world. Both sides believe they are fighting for what is best for Skyrim, but both sides are willing to sacrifice everything for their cause. As the Civil War rages on, the land of Skyrim is torn apart. The cities that once stood as symbols of the Nord's strength are now battlegrounds, and the once proud people of Skyrim find themselves divided by loyalties and beliefs. Families are torn apart as sons and daughters join one side or the other. Friends become enemies, and the very fabric of the land seems to unravel. The war has taken a heavy toll on the people of Skyrim, on both the Stormcloaks and the Imperials, and the once beautiful land is now scarred by the fires of conflict. In the midst of this turmoil, a figure emerges, a figure whose destiny is intertwined with the future of Skyrim itself. The Dragonborn, a legendary hero with the soul of a dragon, is called upon to guide Skyrim through its darkest days. With the power of the Thuum, the Dragonborn possesses the strength to change the tide of battle, to unite the people, and to shape Skyrim's future. But even the Dragonborn cannot escape the weight of the war, for they are faced with a choice that will define the future of the land, whether to side with the Stormcloaks and fight for Skyrim's independence, or to side with the Empire and fight for Skyrim's place in the wider world. The Civil War is not just a fight for territory, it is a fight for identity, for the very essence of what it means to be a Nord. The Nords have always been a proud people, and their struggle to define their future is one that will resonate through the ages. Whether Skyrim remains part of the Empire or breaks free to stand alone is a question that will shape the course of history, and it is one that can only be answered by the people themselves. The echoes of the past continue to haunt the land, but the future of Skyrim rests in the hands of those who are willing to stand up and fight for what they believe in. The sun sets over the snowy peaks of Skyrim, casting long shadows across the land. The air is crisp, the wind biting, but amidst the quiet of the mountains, there is an unmistakable sense of something ancient, something primal stirring. For the first time in centuries, the dragons are returning to Skyrim. Once rulers of the skies, the dragons were long thought to be extinct, banished from Tamriel after their last war with the Nords. Yet as the ages passed and the world shifted, the dragons faded into myth and legend, their roars no longer heard, their wings no longer darkening the skies. The people of Skyrim, the Nords especially, came to think of the dragons as nothing more than a story, a relic of a distant past. The land, once ravaged by their presence, seemed free at last from their terrible might. But as the winds of fate began to stir and the old forces of Tamriel awoke, so too did the dragons. Their return heralded a time of upheaval, a time when the balance of Skyrim, and perhaps the world, was thrown into question. Their ancient voices filled the sky once again, their presence casting an eerie shadow over the land. The return of the dragons was not merely a shift in the natural order. It was a call to arms, a call to face an ancient enemy long thought defeated. At the heart of this new age of dragons stood a figure whose destiny was intertwined with the very power of the creatures who once ruled the skies, the Dragonborn. The Dovahkiin, as they are known in the ancient tongue, are chosen mortals born with the soul of a dragon, capable of speaking the language of dragons and wielding the incredible power of the Thuum, the voice. This power, long lost to history, is now returned, and with it comes a hero, one who will stand against the dragons and restore balance to the world. The legend of the Dragonborn is not a new one. Long before the events of the present day, the first Dragonborn rose to face the dragons and challenge their dominance. This figure, Ysgramor, the legendary leader of the Nords, was said to have had the power of the Thuum and used it to drive the dragons from Skyrim, uniting the Nords in battle and leading them to victory. Ysgramor's name became synonymous with heroism, and his legend echoed through the halls of Sovngarde, the Nordic afterlife. Yet for all the power of Ysgramor and his followers, the dragons were never truly vanquished. They retreated, and the people of Skyrim forgot their might. But the dragons have always been patient, and now, with the return of the ancient power, They have come back to reclaim the land they once ruled. The world is on the cusp of a new age, a time when the dragons will once again take to the skies and bring destruction to those who stand in their way. The Dovahkiin, however, is not merely a passive witness to this return. They are a living embodiment of the dragon's ancient power, their strength, and their fury. The Dragonborn possesses the ability to speak the Thu'um, to shout with the power of dragons themselves. These shouts are more than just words, they are weapons capable of altering the very fabric of reality. The Dragonborn can unleash a shout that causes the earth to tremble, that sends enemies flying through the air, and even one that summons the power of the elements themselves. The Thu'um is a force that connects the Dragonborn to the dragons and the very power of Tamriel's creation. The language of the dragons is not just a tool of destruction, it is a language of creation, a language that speaks to the forces that shape the world. To master the Thu'um is to gain a deep understanding of the world and its many mysteries. It is a power that, in the hands of the Dragonborn, can reshape the destiny of Tamriel. As the Dragonborn's journey unfolds, they come to realize that their path is not just one of conflict and destruction. The return of the dragons is a reflection of a deeper cosmic struggle, one that involves the very fabric of time and space. The ancient prophecy speaks of the World Eater, Alduin, a dragon so powerful that he can devour the very souls of Tamriel and unravel the threads of reality itself. Alduin's return marks the beginning of the end for the world, a time when the gods themselves will tremble and the forces of oblivion will rise to claim their own. The Dragonborn, however, is not without allies. Throughout Skyrim, the people are gathering in support of the Dragonborn's cause. The Nords, whose ancestors once fought the dragons in their prime, rally behind the Dragonborn's call. The companions, the warriors who protect Skyrim from threats both mortal and supernatural, lend their strength and expertise to the fight. Even the mages of the College of Winterhold, whose understanding of magic is unrivaled, join the battle, seeking to unlock the mysteries of the dragons and the Thu'um. Yet the return of the dragons is not just a call to arms. It is a reminder of Skyrim's deepest fears, the fear of an ancient enemy that cannot be easily defeated, and the fear that the power of the dragons, once thought conquered, will rise again to undo all that the Nords have built. The people of Skyrim are divided. Some, like the Stormcloaks, believe that the Dragonborn's fight against the dragons is a sign of Skyrim's independence, a struggle to reclaim their land and heritage from the Empire and the Aldmeri dominion. Others, like the Imperials, view the return of the dragons as a threat that can only be overcome through unity, through a commitment to preserving the strength of the Empire and the bonds of Tamriel. The return of the dragons, however, is a reminder that no single faction, no single group, can hope to defeat such a powerful enemy alone. The Dragonborn, though a singular figure, is not above the struggles of Skyrim's people. They are part of a greater story, a story that involves the gods, the land, and the people who call Skyrim home. In this new age of dragons, the fate of Skyrim, and perhaps the world, rests in the hands of the Dragonborn, whose strength, wisdom, and courage will determine whether the dragons will rise again or whether Skyrim will remain free. The battle against the dragons is not just one of survival. It is a battle for the soul of Skyrim itself, a fight to determine what kind of future the Nords will have. Will they be ruled by the dragons once again, or will they rise to reclaim their heritage and their land? The return of the dragons marks the beginning of a new era, one where the Dragonborn must confront their destiny and fight for the future of Skyrim. Across the lands of Tamriel, beneath the shadow of towering mountains, in the grand cities of the elves and the imperial halls, a quiet power lurks, a power that has grown ever more formidable in the wake of Skyrim's struggles. This power, known as the Thalmor, is the political and military force behind the Aldmeri Dominion, an empire of elves that seeks to reshape the destiny of Tamriel. The Thalmor's influence stretches far beyond the borders of their homeland, reaching into the heart of Skyrim itself and threatening the autonomy of all who stand in their way. Their motives, shrouded in secrecy, are driven by their belief in the superiority of the elven race and their desire to impose their will on the mortal world. The Thalmor are not a singular faction, but a powerful ruling body within the Aldmeri Dominion, which consists of the Altmer, or High Elves, the proud and ancient people of Somerset Isle. The Dominion, once a loose confederation of elven races, was brought together by the Thalmor's vision of an elven-led Tamriel, one where the elves would reclaim their rightful place as the rulers of the continent. In their eyes, the humans and other mortal races of Tamriel are nothing more than lesser beings, unworthy of their own dominion. The Thalmor view themselves as the rightful inheritors of Tamriel, the true heirs to the throne of the world. At the helm of the Thalmor is the Aldmeri Dominion's political and military leadership, a group of powerful elves who have risen to power through cunning, manipulation, and strength. The Thalmor are a well-organized, highly efficient faction that commands loyalty through fear and ambition. Their reach is vast, with spies, agents, and ambassadors scattered throughout Tamriel, gathering intelligence and enforcing the will of the Dominion. Their influence can be felt in every corner of Tamriel, from the bustling cities of Cyrodiil to the quiet towns of Skyrim. The Thalmor's rise to power is tied to the downfall of the Empire. During the Fourth Era, the Empire of Tamriel, once a mighty force that ruled over the entire continent, began to falter. The Empire's resources dwindled, and its political power weakened. The Thalmor seized this opportunity to assert their dominance, negotiating a peace treaty with the Empire in the form of the White Gold Concordat. This treaty, signed by the Empire, was a humiliating agreement that granted the Thalmor significant influence over the Empire and prohibited the worship of Talos, the revered Nord god. For the Nords, this ban on Talos worship was nothing short of an affront. Talos, once a mortal man who became a god, is a symbol of the Nords' strength, independence, and connection to their ancestors. The Thalmor, however, viewed Talos as a threat to their own vision of elven superiority. To them, the worship of Talos represented a mortal challenge to their divine right to rule. The ban on Talos worship became a rallying point for the Stormcloaks, led by Ulfric Stormcloak, and a major source of tension between Skyrim and the Empire. The Thalmor's grip on Skyrim is not limited to religious issues. Their agents are involved in every aspect of Skyrim's political landscape, manipulating events and individuals to further the interests of the Aldmeri Dominion. The Thalmor are not content with mere political control. They seek to eliminate any challenge to their rule, whether it comes from the Nords, the Empire, or the other races of Tamriel. Their presence in Skyrim is subtle but undeniable as they work to ensure that the land remains under the control of the Dominion rather than slipping into the hands of the Nords or other factions. The Thalmor's influence extends beyond the political sphere. Their agents are also involved in the dark arts of espionage, subterfuge, and assassination. The Thalmor maintain a vast network of spies, informants, and operatives who infiltrate every level of society, from the highest noble courts to the lowest taverns. These spies gather information, sow dissent, and eliminate anyone who poses a threat to the Dominion. In this way, the Thalmor ensure that their power remains unchallenged, no matter the cost. Despite their cold, calculating nature, the Thalmor are not without their internal conflicts. Their leadership is built upon a strict hierarchy, and infighting among the Thalmor elites is common. Those who seek to rise within the ranks must navigate a treacherous political landscape where alliances shift and betrayals are inevitable. The Thalmor are not a united front. They are a collection of ambitious individuals, each seeking to increase their own power at the expense of others. In this way, the Thalmor are as much a reflection of the elven nature as they are a product of their political ambitions. To the Nords, the Thalmor are an existential threat. Their efforts to ban Talos worship and control Skyrim are seen as an attack on the very essence of what it means to be Nord. The Stormcloaks, led by Ulfric Stormcloak, view the Thalmor as invaders, and their rebellion is as much a fight for Skyrim's independence as it is a fight for the survival of the Nord way of life. Ulfric and his followers seek to cast off the yoke of Imperial and Thalmor rule, to return Skyrim to its ancient roots and reclaim the land for the Nords. Yet the Nords are not the only ones who view the Thalmor with distrust. The Thalmor's efforts to control Tamriel have drawn the ire of many other factions, from the rebellious Khajiit of Elsewhere to the Argonians of Blackmarsh. The Thalmor's vision of an elven-dominated Tamriel threatens not only the Nords, but the independence of all races. For some, the Thalmor represent a threat far greater than the dangers of dragons or civil war. They represent an imposition of foreign rule that would strip the people of Tamriel of their autonomy and freedom. The Thalmor's machinations are felt across Tamriel, from the bustling streets of Cyrodiil to the remote villages of Skyrim. Their influence is undeniable, but so is their cruelty and their arrogance. They are a faction that seeks power at any cost, and they will stop at nothing to achieve their goal of elven supremacy. The Nords, with their pride and their independence, will continue to fight back against this shadow of control, for they know that their future is at stake, and the future of Skyrim may very well depend on whether the Thalmor's dark reign can be shattered. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the lands of Skyrim, from the ancient stories of dragons to the struggles of the Nords and the many factions that shape this world. The echoes of these tales remind us of the strength, pride, and resilience of those who call Skyrim home. May you find peace and rest, knowing that in the heart of these lands, stories will continue to unfold, and heroes will rise to meet the challenges of their time. Thank you for listening, and may your dreams be as brave and powerful as the Dragonborn. Good night.